All right, guys. Today we got PPI inflation data. And it's a pretty big report. We'll see what we get today. Yesterday, CPI dumped the market down. Bitcoin spiking up on it, though, up 71,000. Gold pulling back a little bit. Sorry, I gotta... There we go. But yeah, inflation data drops today. We also have jobless claims numbers coming out this morning as well. So be ready. We'll see what we get. PPI expected at 0.3%. 0.3%. And yeah. We made some money yesterday. We'll see what we get today. There we go. And then we'll put this poll up. PPI inflation. It drops at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna get some music playing. Expected at 0.3% month to month. There we go. So that's the report. Again, you can see the Q all the way down to 437's gold up there. Let's put some music up. I know we started streaming a little early. It's 5:15 in the morning. Let me go to some old music we got. Intel. Do you have long-term investments? Yeah. So again, my current portfolio is Apple, AMC, ARM, BABA, Citigroup, Chewy, Delta, Etsy, Ford, Gold, GameStop, Google, Home Depot, Honeywell, Coca-Cola, MGM, Microsoft, Nike, Oracle, Pfizer, Palantir, PayPal, Snapchat, Snow, SoFi, SoundHound, Tesla, Tyson Foods, Unity, Walgreens, Walmart, and Exxon. Yeah, and a lot of the time what I'll do with these positions is I'll add to them as they pull back more. So, like, I'll DCA into these positions, basically, over time. These are, not all of them, though. Like, I'm not going to add any more, no offense to AMC. I'm not going to add any more to GameStop, probably. I'll probably just stay in what I have there, you know. What's up, Beach Bum? Do we hold or sell? I don't know. Cheese Chaser, what's up, dude? DJ, good morning. Yeah, nice bounce. NVIDIA, MicroStrategy. Did NVIDIA bounce? Okay, NVIDIA up to 870. Still, you know, it did bounce. It's still got a ways to go, though. But it did bounce, so that's good to see. Intel's still up. No, Intel's down. I might buy Intel if it pulls back enough, though, to be honest. Yeah, I'll probably start adding into Intel, I think, right here. I'll wait. I have to wait until 7 to start buying up stuff. I'll probably buy some into Intel, though. SoFi, rip it up. Yeah, I mean, I'm in SoFi. I hope it goes up, you know. Do you care about picking, about divvies? Not really. Divvies are not really why I'm buying it. I'm just kind of diversifying into... I'm diversifying into pulling, like, stocks that are pulling back enough to justify, if that makes sense. Like, I'm buying pullbacks, but I'm also just buying up what I consider healthy companies and then DCAing into them long term. It works really well, you know. Yeah. Hey, why does your data come out super late? Yesterday, my data arrived 15 seconds before yours. Probably because you're delayed on stream, Drew. You know, it's probably because you're delayed on stream. Like, 8:30 hit with PPI, and I got the data within like literally like a quarter second and reported it on stream within a quarter second. So if you got it 15 seconds after that, you probably somewhere paused the stream and let it get behind on the stream. That's why I always try to tell people to hit the live button heading into the report, you know. Are you sick? No. No, I mean, it's just 5 a.m. in the morning, T. So, like, I just woke up, man. You know, so I'm sure my voice is a little bit deeper than it normally sounds later in the morning. The first time you speak every day, your voice is going to be a little bit deeper than it normally is. And then I'm sure in 30 or 40 minutes, I'll go back to, you know, sounding like Pee Wee Herman, you know. Hey, what does the data come out? It comes out at 8:30. So tactical. Yeah, I mean, the data comes out exactly at 8:30, Drew. And so, and before, like, and we cover the data. Again, the reason we get thousands of people here is because we cover it very quickly relative to when it comes out. Like, the data comes out, we cover it within, like, less... excuse me. We cover it less than a second later. Generally, you know, generally. Now, again, it depends on where you are. If you've paused the stream or if you have bad latency and your stream is a little delayed relative to mine, then it might come out later, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can see the market reaction more than anything, Drew. So, like, you could see when the data comes out, I guess, is the point. Yesterday, what happened is, like, we got this weird spike before the data came out. So we got this big spike up before the data came out. And then once the data came out, and it was all almost universally higher than expected, we got this big dump, right? So it was really weird. Like yesterday when the data came out, look, I'll show you. So we got this big spike, like right here. Like right before the data came out at 8:29 market time, we got this big spike. And then once the data dropped, we dumped down, you know. The data comes out at 2:30 here. No need to wake up too early. Yeah, I mean, I get up early just because, you know, I'm a morning person, so I usually stream from like 6:15 market time to like 10 market time, you know. Expectation for gold movement. It really depends on what the data shows up as. If the data comes in low, it could, you know, we don't know what's going to happen, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's possible, Drew, if PPI comes in like worse, like high. I think if PPI shows up high and inflation is feared, you know, market could fall more for sure. I'm not saying it's going to, but it certainly could happen, you know. Yeah, let me get a timer up, actually, with that said. All right, so we have about 2 hours and 5.25 minutes. There we go. About 2 hours until the data comes out. So can you explain PPI? So So PPI is the producer price index. It's the producer price index. It is a measure that averages the change over time in selling prices received by domestic producers of goods and services. So U.S. businesses, it's basically how much they see prices rising, right? So how much so one is so there's two sides of the inflationary coin that we look at, right? One of them is CPI, which is the consumer price index. It's how much prices are rising for me and you. So like the way to look at this is how much you and I are paying for things is the CPI data, right? So like how much I'm paying for a gallon of milk, as an example. If it's not core, at least core excludes food and energy, so milk isn't going to be included in core PPI or core CPI, I should say, but it's still relevant, right? Base CPI is what milk's going to be included on, but I digress. Back to the point, which is CPI is consumer prices. PPI, on the other hand, is producer prices, and so like it's how much producers are paying for that milk, right? Before they sell it, so more like wholesale prices, and so it's basically business prices versus consumer prices. What businesses are paying versus what we're paying. That's PPI to CPI. And today is PPI. Again, it's typically the same type of reaction, although it is a little bit less predictable in terms of reactions relative to CPI. So normally low inflation is good. So generally low PPI is going to be better. High PPI is going to be worse, although it does move a little bit different sometimes. So you just be careful. Nobody knows. I tend to like to wait for things to I generally like to let things play out first, and then once things play out, then I can do whatever I want to do. And yeah, we have jobless claims today. Jobless claims are how many people are filing for unemployment week to week. Those are out today at 8:30 as well. We'll see if they move markets. And then tomorrow we got bank earnings. So a lot of stuff going on. The news is in about 2 hours and 1 minute and 30 seconds. And again, this is not an exact timer. Yesterday, I took a trade of CPI news and made $300. I mean, that's great. I would just be very careful. The volatility increases substantially. The reason most day traders fail, right? The reason most day traders fail is because they have these big drawdowns in their account that they're unable to rebound from, right? So they make money, everything's good, everything's sunshine, and they make money, and then they have these big drawdowns in their account that make them really emotional, and then they end up trading way too big, risking their account, losing it, and then say, man, this is rigged, or whatever they want to say. But the reality is they're just taking too big of risks, right? And that comes with stuff like today where we have CPI, we have PPI. If you're taking normal size, like say your average size, not including big news events, is like 500 shares, right? Way too big for a new trader, to be honest, right? But say your average size trading the SPY is 500 shares, or your average contract is 2 contracts of the NASDAQ E-mini, which is way too big for me personally. That moves very quickly, but say that's your average size, right? If you trade this news event, CPI, PPI, with that same sizing, you can lose your whole account, right? These things move very quickly. The range is much bigger. It's way bigger than it is prior to this news drop. And so if you trade it with universal share size, you're going to lose way more than you normally would and have these big drawdowns that might make you emotional. Again, the way most new traders blow accounts is that they have a big loss, they risk some more, they lose more, till before you know it, they've lost so much where they're like, screw it, I'm just going to risk my account. And then they risk it, they lose, and boom, their account's gone. That happens a lot. I know that happened to me when I was in the beginning of my trading. And I think it happens to everybody to a certain extent. But I guess the point is, like, if you're gonna insist on trading these news events, number one, there's rules in like Apex. You're not supposed to trade these news in certain ways. You can trade your normal strategies, but you can't like gamble taking crazy big size just trying to get funded on these news events. Number two, if you're trading these news events, just scale down your size to a reasonable level to where your risk isn't super high. If your risk is crazy big, you're just gambling. It's not smart, you know. Yeah, I'm in SoFi right now. I'm down on it, but I'm in it. We're gonna make lots of money on PPI today. I hope so, brother. I hope so. It does have a significant class bias requiring 25K to properly trade while offering no avenue to circumvent it. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, but, you know, it's one of the reasons the PDT rule is ridiculous. Really, what the PDT rule, it doesn't have anything to do with trying to keep people out, because really, most day traders lose. The problem I have with it is that forcing a trader to trade 25 grand for their first account is causing a lot of new traders to lose 25 grand, right? Like, you're going to give a new trader that doesn't have any experience 25 grand, and they need to trade with a minimum of 25K to be able to freely day trade. Some people are going to do that and lose. And like, no new trader has any type of good risk management skills. And so you're forcing a new trader to trade 25K with no risk management skills. You're going to make them lose tens of thousands of dollars. It's the dumbest rule ever. It's like, hey, you know, it's kind of like letting a person that's never driven before drive a Lamborghini for their first car, you know, and then expecting them not to wreck it, you know. Like, it's just not, like, some people are not going to wreck it, right? But a lot of people are, and that's the point where it's the dumbest freaking rule ever. It really, what the rule allows is banks to sit on your money longer and earn a little bit more interest. Like, that's really what it's doing. But they'll never admit that. Essentially X. I mean, I would read the rules on their site. I would read the rules on their site to be sure, but that's essentially what it is. Are you still in Chewy? I don't think so. I think I'm out of Chewy. Oh, no, I'm in Chewy. Yeah, I'm in Chewy. I'm green in it. But, my average price is 16.90s. I've already taken off a lot of it. I might buy some more down here, though, but we'll see. I don't know what, like, people always, nobody knows what the PPI report's going to show, chat. Nobody knows. Like, I certainly don't know what it's going to show up as. I'm just going to react to what the number does show up as. You can always just trade cash. I mean, you can, but you're still going to be severely restricted. Like, with the cash account, you got to wait for the T1 rule. You got to wait for settlement. You can only go long. You know, it's severely restrictive in terms of being able to actively day trade. And again, the problem with it is that, you know, day trading takes a large sample size to see an edge play out. You have good and bad variance, and the smaller your sample size, the less edge plays out and the more variance that's in there. It's kind of like poker, right? Like, poker has a lot of variance, but if you're good at poker over a long run, you should make money in it. But you have to get your reps in enough to let that edge play out. If you restrict somebody to only day trade 3 times a week, it's going to take a long time for that edge to play out. Most people are going to lose. It's a silly rule. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know, T, about my daily profit or loss record. Again, I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'm not selling a course. I'm not even claiming to be a good trader. If anything, I'm one of the top 3 worst traders ever in the world right now. So yeah, I mean, I'm not, you know, I don't want the pressure of showing people my daily wins and losses. Again, I'd rather just tell people I'm not an expert, not to copy me, you know. We're really just covering economic data mostly here on this channel. You know what I mean? So PDT allows them to lose less slower. Sure, but it also allows them to, like, have a way smaller sample size. You know, besides, like, what a lot of them are going to do is just trade really, really large and lose just as much as they would, but instead not be able to let their edge play out. Well, you have to card count to get a 51% edge, you know. Which I can do. I know how to card count, you know. Again, the problem with card counting nowadays is that you're going to get backed off so quickly that it's going to be hard to get your reps in. Blackjack, very similar thing, right? Like, you got to get enough hands in to let the edge of counting play out, and it's just hard to do that, you know. You got to go from casino to a casino. A lot of them are going to trespass you or back you off, and you know it's going to be hard to, you know. Yeah, a lot of decks now. It's just going to be hard. I don't know if it's a sell or buy. Nobody does. You know, we're just going to have to wait and see. You can still count, but it's a lot harder. You know, people act like you have to be some type of math prodigy to be able to count cards. You just gotta do basic math quickly, you know. And like I think pretty quickly. Top 3 thinkers in the world right now. But if somebody sees me read or type, like I can think very quickly, including simple math. But there's variance, and if you don't get enough hands in, you know, you can lose a lot to trying to count. Yeah, maybe. Nibble's just good. Yeah, like Dana White, basically, you know. Yeah, for sure, pawn. It's really not that difficult. It's basically adding up single and double digits, you know. Like, that's all it really is adding up single and double digits. And being able to keep the count in your head. The real hard part about it is not doing the basic math. It's doing so without revealing yourself, right? Because, you know, you're looking at all the cards on the table. That's when the dealer gets weird. I went and played, you know, again, I tell this story a lot. When I realized I wasn't a huge gambler, right? My wife and I went to a casino in Michigan, and I wanted to play poker only. I didn't really want to play anything else. Like, I went and took out like $500 to $800. And I wanted to go play poker, right? So we went to this casino, big casino. I'm expecting them to have poker tables. We go there. They don't have poker tables. And they're like, hey, you want to play video poker? And I'm like, no, I don't want to play video poker. I want to play real poker. Anyways, so we have this $500 or $800. There's no poker. And so Carol and I just kind of look at each other like, well, what do we do now? So we walk around. We sit at a blackjack table for like 10 minutes, you know. And I'm sitting there. I win like $50. Carol loses like $50. So we're like flat. I think we actually ended net $10 or something. So like I made a little bit more than Carol lost. And we ended up netting a little bit of profit from BJ. And then we end up going around. I think we play like one slot machine. We lose. I think we put like a 10 in a slot machine. We lose it very quickly, and Carol and I were just like, screw this, let's go. Like, we're leaving, right? So we ended up, like, even though we were at the casino with $500 to $800 in cash, we just decided to leave and not gamble anything more because we didn't really want to do it. I'm not a big gambler. Like, I don't like losing money. I don't like just giving money away. I don't care about the rush. I don't care about any of that crap, man. I just want to play poker, let my edge play out in poker, and then leave. But at that moment in time, I realized I'm not a big gambler. Like, I don't really like risking money. I don't really like losing money. I don't mind risking it, but within reason. And I need to have a statistical probable, you know, a statistical edge, like a good probability of making money. If not, I don't want to do it. You know? But yeah, they really tried to sell me on video poker as well. I'm good. That's just algorithms, like programmed to pay you out at a certain point. I'm all right. You don't need a photographic memory for to count. You just need to do simple math, you know. Is it safe to say CPI came back sticky, so should PPI come in sticky as well? No, I wish it was that easy, but it's just not. Sometimes they'll do opposing things, and so I wish you could look at one to gauge the other, but You can't. I cover all these CPI reports every month, and they're, a lot of the time they're actually opposite. So a lot of the time CPI will come in high and PPI will come in low, and we can argue the reactions, but I wouldn't try to, again, if you're trying to predict what PPI is going to get in, that's fine, as long as you're not basing trades off of those predictions, right? Like if you're basically trying to guess what PPI is going to be and you're taking big gambling trades ahead of the report, you're just gambling, right? Like you're just justifying gambling. Like nobody knows not only what PPI is going to be, but more so than that, the reaction. Even if PPI comes in really low, it's not unusual for the market to react negatively to that. Even though low inflation is better, it's just not unusual for the market to be varying in its reaction. And so, again, taking a huge position now and trying to, feel the rush of, it's just gambling. Y'all be careful. No need to do it, I guess is the point. Yeah, I'll put some bets on it, UFC, but it's been years since I've done that. I'm really not a big gambler, man. Like, I only like, I guess it depends on how much you make, right? Like, I think if you make enough outside of that, then you don't really like just flushing it away, Like, I make enough money to where I just want to keep stacking my money and investing it, How does unemployment affect the market? So I'm assuming you're talking about jobless claims, unemployment filings. They, typically lately, the market still fears inflation. And so I do think that's going to be something that's pretty clear in terms of if jobless claims shows up lower than expected, the market will probably go down from that. Although PPI is going to influence it as well, so it's not going to be really easy to predict, I think. But I do think the market wants higher jobless claims and less people working because CPI was sticky and inflation was high, and I think the market just wants less people working. Anything dropping Friday? Not in terms of economic reports. We have big bank earnings. We got JP Morgan, BLK, and a bunch of other big bank earnings coming out tomorrow. So we do have big bank earnings. Yeah, Baba's up. I'm in Alibaba right now. I don't know if I should take profit or what, but again, I'll probably does Intel have any bad news? If not, I'm probably gonna buy Intel in about 15 minutes since it's down so much. Can you trade stocks on Ninja Trade? It's mostly futures. Yeah, so it's mostly just futures. All right. yesterday. Nvidia did not drop last night. I mean, no. I mean, I think Nvidia is just consolidating now. Had a good day yesterday. Ripped up some. Held. Is there something wrong with Intel? I think is the question. That's what I'm looking at. I don't see anything super negative about Intel. I might buy the dip. Intel's all the way down to the 30s again. Dipped a lot over the last few days, so we might kind of buy it up, try to ride it. PPI will be positive for the dollar index. Not necessarily. It depends. Again, I'm not telling anybody to buy anything. Don't copy me. Not an investment professional. Not liable if you lose. Always be smart. Trade safe. I just got an Apex account, wondering where to start. I like trading tech. Well, you can't trade individual stocks on Apex, remember, Harris. It's only futures. If you like trading tech, you can trade the Q, is what I would trade. But again, remember, the Q moves quickly. So if you want to lower your size, trade the micro NASDAQ. MNQ M4 is the current symbol. MNQ M4 for the micro NASDAQ. It's the QQQ price action. MindMed was delisted. MNMD, really? Psilocybin company. Is it delisted? I don't know. Buenos dias, mi amigo. Is it? Are CPI and PPI correlated? Yes. It's hard to see anything on your Q chart. Well, the Q is low liquidity right now. I'd rather put up like the NASDAQ 100 here. It's going to be a little bit easier to see. It's the same price action as the Q, but it's a little bit better liquidity. So again, you can kind of see the liquidity here. Nvidia at 868. Gold bouncing back up a little bit this morning. We'll see if that holds. All right, thanks, Harris. Appreciate it. It's a beautiful day. It is. Dollar index is unstoppable. Well, it's going to move inversely to the dollar or to the equities market. So if equities are up, you can see the Q is down. Dollar index is up today. It just moves inversely to it. Where's Tesla? Did Tesla end up bouncing? Tesla at 170s. Down yesterday. All right, guys. So the Fed minutes report was kind of a nothing burger yesterday. It didn't really do much. All right, chat. All right, chat. All right, so again, we're watching the Nasdaq. I don't want to trade. It's been so choppy, man. Somehow I made money yesterday, but again, it's so flat and boring that I'm nervous about pushing too hard right now. Worried about AI in the future, like the next 15 to 25 years, going to completely wipe a sizable portion of the jobs market. I don't know, man. I think it's going to take some jobs away. It's also going to create a lot of jobs as well, kind of like the automobile carriage. A lot of people worked on the carriage and they got upset when automobiles were a thing. But the automobile market is one of the most, job producing industries. And so, I think we got to look at it like that. Flat market is boring. Yeah, it's been so sideways, man. It really has. It's been sideways, boring. No, I'm good, T. I can only play non-copyright music, bro. What's up, Philip? I'm good, man. Just kind of hanging out, waiting. We got about... I might buy Intel on this dip, though. So we might buy Intel. It's down to $37. So we might buy up some Intel. How many shares should we buy? I think we'll probably buy maybe like 25 shares. Keep it small, but kind of... This is why I like this dude. He's always up on top of stuff. Hey. Again, I think that's a real reason why my channel's growing. I think there's a lot of people that try to mimic my channel style. where they want to cover big economic events as well. But like, I think the reason we grew is because people know we're reliable with it. Like, they know if something big is going on, we're about to stream it, you know. And so people like that reliability. They know it's a one-stop place where you can find all this stuff. And so yeah. The AI robots will fix themselves and build other AI robots. See, this is the problem. Sure, but you're always going to need human regulation there. You're always going to need a human eye in that stuff, you know, at least to a certain degree. It's also going to, like, you got to understand this, right? It's going to create jobs without question. You might say, okay, well, how is it going to create jobs? It's simple, because what AI specifically does is it causes humans to produce much more than they previously could. Right? And so with AI, you can produce faster, you can create more businesses, you can produce different things, you can build different things. And there's a lot of businesses that sprout up. Like if I go to social media, I'm getting an AI ad a lot of the time about different AI businesses, different AI chips, different AI, you know, handhelds that you carry around with you that do different things. And those businesses are going to need people to help run them. They're not going to be purely run on AI. They're going to need people. It's going to produce jobs. Like, without question, it's going to produce jobs. Now, whether it'll be a net positive in terms of job production is another, like, a more arguable thing. But it's going to produce jobs at the very least. PPI, Andy, is the big news today. Yeah, I'm in Nike right now. I added on Nike on this pullback, and we're actually really nicely up from it. So we bought Nike on this dip over the last few days. We're still red on it, but looking better. All right, chat. All right, chat. So, the FOMC minutes report dropped yesterday. It's an interesting thing. You know, I think they're going to start ending their QT. And if you don't know what QT is, again, not any time, they haven't announced it yet, but they're slowing it for sure. It's what they've been talking about in these reports. So they're slowing they're slowing their quantitative tightening. If you don't know what QT is basically the Fed stops injecting liquidity into markets, right? When the Fed doesn't back markets, treasury markets with liquidity, investors need higher yields, and it influences, it essentially pushes interest rates higher, right? Cause margins to be worse for banks, and it pushes interest rates higher. Now, the first step of the Fed is always if the Fed is fearing inflation, right? The Fed will first try rate hikes, which is what they did. Like the last 6 to 8 months, they've been pausing, but prior to that, they did raise rates, right? So first, what the Fed will do is the Fed will raise interest rates to consumers by raising the short-term interest rates, the federal funds rate. Eventually, that'll trickle into long-term rates like mortgages and auto financing and stuff like that. But short-term rates are raised first in the federal funds rate. If they're really fearing inflation, then they'll do what's called quantitative tightening, which is basically they stop buying bonds, they stop expanding their balance sheet, and they either directly sell bonds, which is direct QT, or they let their current holdings just run off, and they don't buy more to compensate for it. We've been in QT since 2022, and the Fed recently has been talking about ending or slowing that tightening period. So the other question is, when do we cut rates? Prior to this week, most people thought we'd cut rates in June or July. Now most people are expecting rate cuts in September. So again, now we go to September. September is the first time where it pivots to a 25 basis point cut. And so most people are now expecting us to cut rates not in June, July, but all the way back in September. And so again, July, Most people still expecting a pause, although it is a little bit larger, almost 40% expecting a cut. So, and then look at Tesla dump. Tesla dipping down to 170 40s, Nvidia at 867s, Nasdaq at 18,171. I mean, doctor, you want to check with them, brother. Check with Apex. And again, if you want to check out Apex, they are a sponsor of mine. Great way to help support the channel, although I am biased, of course, because they're a sponsor. They pay me money. But I think it's a really useful way to day trade. Like we were talking about the PDT rule earlier. If you want to day trade stocks freely without restriction, you're going to need 25K. And no new trader has any type of risk management skills. The PDT rule basically causes traders to lose thousands of dollars. It's one of the dumbest rules ever. Instead of risking that much money, do not put up thousands of dollars yourself. Cash account, you're only going to be able to go long. Day trade you got to wait for your funds to settle. There's just a lot of problems with it. Instead, in the futures market, the patterns are so similar to stocks. Like they're so similar to stocks. If I look at the QQQ index fund, it's the same price action as the NASDAQ. It's literally the exact same thing. Like this is the same as this. You can see the liquidity is just a little bit better in futures. But outside of that, this is the same thing as this. And I can day trade this side here on the left with no PDT rule in futures. The patterns are very similar to blue chip stocks. There's just no PDT rule. I can buy market, sell market in futures. The only difference is the sizing with contracts versus shares, but it's very similar to day trading stocks. And on Apex, they give you a demo and they test your skill. If you pass the test, they fund you the same amount as the demo. So the base one's 25K. They're going to give you a 25K demo. If you pass it, you got to make 1,500 in profit in following their rules. If you do that, they fund you 25K with a 90% split. It's incredibly useful for both learning how to day trade with limited risk. If you lose the base one, if you use my link, it's $35. So it's not the end of the world if you lose it. Your risk is limited. And most day traders lose. And I think that's the same here because most day traders lose, right? It's a lot cheaper to lose this. But if you pass it, again, you get a 90% split once you're funded. If you're funded and you make 20K, you keep 18,000. They keep 2 since they're funding you that money. You get to keep your first 25K in profit. There's just tons of reasons to use them. And again, right now there's an 80% off sale, 1 day pass as well, which means if you hit the profit target today, you get funded today. And so again, if you want to check it out, my promo code BT gets you the max discount at all times. BT Beginner Trading gets you the max discount. Although again, guys, remember they are a sponsor of mine. I'm biased. Understand rule CFTC 4.41 hypothetical simulated performance may vary and have different limitations. So understand this rule completely. And yeah, I appreciate the love. Check it out. Hey, thank you so much, Philip. He said, "What happened to your Discord account, bud? I was gonna DM you an article I wrote, but our chat is." Yeah, so we switched. We had to switch our emails, so we're still in Discord. It's just a different name. But thank you so much for the donation, brother. I appreciate it. I don't know how much this is, but hey, thank you so much. I appreciate the donation, bro. That is $6. Thanks so much for the $6 dono, brother. I appreciate it. Top 3 swing traders in the world right now. Top 3 worst swing traders in the world right now. Why use Discord? Bad UI, data being sold is horrible. Well, I mean, yeah. I don't really use it that much, to be honest. I'm sure my Discord members would rather me use it more. I just use it as a way to communicate with people. Dude, why does my hand smell like... It smells good, you know? It smells like... It's gotta be like Carol. Some of her, like, spray. Smells like fruit, you know. What's your opinion on gold? I like gold long term. I like gold long term. Short term, it can be volatile, but I think it's a great and long term inflation hedge. Although I'm not telling you to buy anything. I don't know what gold's going to do. But yeah, I'm probably going to buy into Intel right now as well, chat. So we're going to probably buy into Intel. It's down enough for me to get interested in it. Small size, though. We're not going to go crazy. All right, we're in there. We just bought a couple shares. You know, we'll leave it at that. No, T. I think he's wrong about a lot of stuff, to be honest. I'm not saying I usually... Well, it's not that I usually smell bad, Philip. It's that my hand smells like a fruit spray, like a like a girly spray is what it smells like, right? So it's kind of strong, and so I'm wondering where it came from. I don't usually smell bad. I just don't usually smell like fruity, like spray, NVIDIA CEO saying don't learn to code is terrifying and interesting. I think you should learn to code, but I think you don't need to learn as much, right? Like when I first learned to code, I think learning to code is very important so you can understand, because even if you're producing code through AI, you still need to understand it to a certain degree, right? And so I think it's important to learn code. I think learning code is what, like, I know JavaScript, React Native, mostly a front end developer, but I also know some Python. Like I know how to code, to a certain extent. And I think it's important to learn at least a little bit how to code, right? Now, do you need to learn full, back end, front end work, like databases, like all that stuff? Not necessarily anymore, right? Because now AI can produce a lot of the stuff. But if you don't have a base understanding of it, you're still not going to do well, right? Like you still need to have a base understanding of coding, and it takes time. Trying to learn Python. Python's the most literal language. It's very simple. It's not super strict syntax. Although I think Python is really strict in terms of indenting syntax. I don't, but outside of that, it's a very literal language. A very literal language, very literal syntax in Python. I tried learning code, but I mean, everybody's different, man. I think code can be very intimidating, and it's a lot to learn at first. With code, really, you're learning 4 main subjects, which is Boolean values, like true or false, conditional statements, object-oriented programming, and then you're learning like HTML, CSS a lot of the time if it's front end. There's another one I'm missing that I can't think of right now, but there's main parts of programming that are all universally there in each language. When you program in each language, it's all the same things. It's just a different grammar and vocabulary rules, which is called syntax with each language. But you're all basically doing the same thing in each. Some are more strict, some are less strict. Python's less strict, easier, more literal. JavaScript is somewhere in the middle. Like I use JavaScript, mostly. It's kind of like learning a foreign language. It's very similar to learning a foreign language. Yes. Do you think the S&P is going up? Maybe. It was all HTML back in the day. C++, Java, Python are much newer. Yeah. I mean, HTML and CSS are not really coding. They're more of like web structures. Like I used to use when MySpace first came out. If you're old enough to have used MySpace, you used to have to center things. Like your MySpace page was using HTML and CSS code. It wasn't real coding. Like you don't like just because you know HTML and CSS does not mean you know how to code. And that's a big misconception because there's a difference. Like that's just web structure. It's not real code, right? If you can learn HTML and CSS in a day or two and have a pretty good understanding of it, it doesn't mean you know how to code, unfortunately. I know a lot of people, I see posts on Facebook and they're like, yeah, we learned to code back in the day. All these coders are weak. And it's like they just know HTML and CSS. It's like, all right, like you don't actually know how to code. You just want to say you can. My son's learning to code. I'm teaching my son how to code a little bit, but I'm not saying HTML and CSS isn't a form of coding. It's just very simple and easy, you know. With the, you know, it can get complex when you start like when you start using the DOM, like, you know, it can get complex quick. But yeah. Anyways, does PPI come in higher or lower? I need a full stack dev that knows Rust. Anyone? Nope, not me. I'm not your guy. I'm not your Huckleberry, bro. I'm a proud millennial. Yeah, I'm a millennial too, dude. Yeah, how's the weather, man? I know the weather was bad yesterday. It's gotten a little bit better on my end. But, yeah, AI's gotten really, really good. Can I ask what way PPI will affect the market today, or what can we expect? Well, typically higher PPI is worse and lower PPI is better, but it does vary and it's never a certain reaction. Sometimes PPI will come in high and market will, you know, still go up, or vice versa, come in low and the market will still go down. All right, chat. Intel at 37s, 37s. Ooh, we only need about 70 subs left to break 134K. Less than 70, actually. So, hey, if you haven't already, hit that sub button, guys. We're growing here. We'll hit this today for sure. So we're almost up to 135s. Channel's growing very fast. Yeah, so the ECB interest rate decisions today as well, is it? Yeah, it is. Ooh, interesting. 4.5%. They're expecting a pause. Most broad central banks are expecting a pause. You know, they mirror us, with the exception of UK. They're a little bit less predictable, but they still basically do what we do. All right, chat. Again, a lot of stuff's down. We did buy Intel. I don't know what Intel's going to do, though. But we bought a little bit of a dip, and we're just going to chill and try to wait, you know. So if PPI comes higher, dollar index is going down. No. PPI comes in higher, dollar index will probably go up. But you never know for sure. Will you share the ECB data? Yes, we will. We'll cover it as soon as it drops. It comes out at 8:15, so just remind me if I forget. CarMax dropped numbers today. Again, the big earnings season starts tomorrow. Yeah, today we have jobless claims, unemployment filings. Yes, they're expected at 217,000. And again, I think the higher this number shows up, the better the market will respond to it. In all honesty, I think market is fearing inflation. They want less jobs, and so higher shows less jobs. That's what they want. Yeah, I mean, inflation definitely came in higher than expected and higher. But PCE data came in better than expected a few weeks ago, and the Fed argues PCE is a more accurate gauge on inflation. Anyway, inflation is anywhere between 2.8 and 3.5% essentially right now, which is not the worst it could ever be, right? Like people acting like just because inflation data yesterday came in 0.1% higher than expected, that somehow this is like a market crash and that this is just a huge disaster and that inflation is just out of control. It's not, it's not. 3.8 or 3.5% is the highest. 2.8% PCE is, under 3. And so it's not the worst it could be, right? Like, again, a lot of people don't remember. Maybe they didn't trade, 2-3 years ago when it was almost 9%. But it's not the worst it could be right now. GLD is a gold ETF. But again, I still think that we need to discourage, earlier rate cuts. I do think we should discourage earlier rate cuts. I don't think we should cut rates anytime soon. I think we should wait as long as humanly possible. One cut in December. I don't know. They're expecting September. But, yeah, I mean, I agree inflation is a risk. I agree we shouldn't cut rates anytime soon, and that the earlier we cut rates, the more inflation problems we're going to ultimately have, Yeah, we got the European Central Bank announcing a pause in about 55 minutes or so. So we are bouncing up on the NASDAQ. Let's see if we hold up there. We got about 500 people here already, so I appreciate the love. Welcome, chat. Yeah, trying to bounce here. Yeah, inflation spikes quickly. Yeah, the banks are the interesting thing heading into tomorrow. Tomorrow we have bank earnings, right? JP Morgan, though, has had such a strong year. Such a strong year. Like, here's JP Morgan. That, like, here's the year on JP. Such a strong year for JP Morgan. I like banks, but I think this is up so much. I'm nervous about it. If PPI comes in higher, do you think we might see gold spiking up? Maybe. It'll probably be the opposite, at least the initial reaction. But who knows? It's never, like, definitive reaction. We don't know exactly. Yeah, so we're looking at this indicator we built. Again, we had a pretty good day trading yesterday. What happened with Tesla 20 minutes ago? I don't know. Tesla always has some type of crazy news showing up for it. Volkswagen and BMW reportedly expected good news on their EV progress. Could be what it is. Alright, so we just took 4 contracts. We're scalping out of the regular E-mini here. We did catch a bounce. We'll cut a little bit more there. And again, we got this little reversal signal that we're using. And it worked nicely on the E-mini. We're riding this up some here on Apex. We'll get out the rest there. Just kind of lock that in. That's nice. So, not too bad. Up about 30 bucks on a little trade there. That should be bullish for Tesla. Yeah, I mean, with Tesla, it's just unpredictable. Somebody said Tesla bottomed out. See, look at this reversal signal. So again, we built this indicator on TOS. It's again, I'm not telling you to copy it. I have no idea what it's going to do, and I might be wildly wrong. But it seemed to be pretty accurate. Look, we got the reversal signal here, and then, we've got this follow-through bounce. And so I do think it's a pretty good predictor here. And when I backtested it, backtesting looked favorable. Backtesting looked nice. So again, I can't guarantee it's going to work. Nobody can, of course, but check it out. Again, this one was actually live. If you guys watched it, no, it has nothing to do with the RSI. Nothing to do with the RSI. Hey bud, can you explain the rate cut? I don't understand whether 3 rate cuts was good or not. No cut until the end of the year. Can you explain, please? So when you hear rate hikes, rate cuts, rates from the Fed, what they're referencing is short-term interest rates, right? Short-term interest rates, while there's a lagging effect, eventually they trickle into long-term rates, right? And so when you hear rate cut, that basically means the Fed is trying to bring interest rates down because interest rates are too high. And eventually it'll trickle into mortgages, it'll trickle into auto financing, lending, whatever. And right now interest rates are high. Mortgages are 8%. The federal funds rate has been raised and then paused over the last few years, a good amount. And so now the question is, when have we done enough in terms of keeping interest rates high, as well as QT, which also keeps interest rates high by taking liquidity away from markets? When have we done enough to combat inflation, right? The real question on whether we're going to cut rates or not is whether inflation is under control. If inflation's not under control, it's a bad idea to cut rates, because by cutting rates, you're bringing interest rates down. And eventually what that will do is cause people to spend more and ultimately make inflation worse, right? So by bringing interest rates down and stimulating spending, it's bad. It makes it's bad for inflation, I'll say. So if inflation is not completely under control, raising rates or cutting rates too early will cause inflation spikes, and inflation runs quickly. So it can get out of control quick. So again, I've been telling people this for months now, I think cutting rates too early is a really, really bad move. And of course, like, you got the other side of it where it's mostly like people in real estate, people in lending, they want rate cuts to happen. Why? Because it makes them have more business. When interest rates are lower, it's easier to sell lending, right? Or sell homes in general. But I think it's, again, too early of rate cuts could cause inflation problems to get worse. And so inflation is not necessarily under control. It's not in a bad spot, but I would like to see CPI down to 2.5% first. I would like to see PCE down to 2.5% first before we start really talking about cutting rates. Now, the Fed has said earlier in the last Fed meeting that the base case was at least one cut this year. He might have said 3 cuts before that, but again, the Fed changes their decision making based off of what the economy and economic data shows us. So the Fed will change their path. You get people that sometimes bring up FOMC meetings from last year to argue that the Fed is going to do something right now. And again, what the Fed said 6 months ago means nothing right now. Means nothing, because the Fed will change their tune based off of what the economy looks like, what jobs look like, what spending looks like, what inflation looks like, right? So I guess the point we're trying to make here is right now, inflation data has showed it's a little bit stickier than it was, a month ago. So CPI came in higher than expected. PPI is an interesting look today. And so, yeah, I guess the point right now is that most people only expect us to start cutting rates now in September. It was previously thought to the rate cuts were expected to start in June or July. Now they're pushed all the way back to September, and we don't know how many they're going to do. We don't know how many they're going to do. You got to wait for the next FOMC meeting to get an update from Powell in that regard, because again, you got to wait and see what he ultimately says, because that's who you want to listen to. Outside of that, nobody knows, what we're going to do. Well explained, understood. Yeah, I mean, once you understand that thing, again, the Fed's got a couple tools to combat interest rates. Like the way the Fed brings interest rates down, the first path is usually rate cuts, right? They'll literally cut rates. That's why you hear rate cuts. The second path is QE, right? Right now we're in a period of QT though, so quantitative tightening. Basically, the way the Fed can influence rates. Now, this is a more desperate move. Like QT and QE is a more desperate move, right? Like normally the Fed will just raise or lower interest rates, the federal funds rate, which again is short-term rates. Eventually that'll trickle into long-term rates. There's a lagging effect though. It doesn't happen immediately because, bond prices and stuff like that, but there is a lagging effect. If the Fed doesn't think that QE, if they're trying to bring interest rates down, or QT, if they're trying to keep interest rates high, if they don't think rate hikes and rate cuts are enough, they'll pivot to QE or QT, right? Which again is a more desperate move, because again, the risks of QT are that it could spark financial crises. It could cause depressions and recessions if you keep interest rates too high. Because if you think about it in that regard, if you keep interest rates high enough, spending dries up dramatically, right? If you do it for too long, it's kind of like picking up pennies in front of a train track where, you can do it. Eventually, if you keep it up too high, it could really hurt the economy, right? So that's the risks of QT, and same thing with QE, right? So with QE, which is the Fed expanding their balance sheet, injecting liquidity into markets and buying up treasury bonds, this ultimately helps banks have better margins and keep interest rates down, right? It brings interest rates down. If you do that for too long and you keep interest rates low for too long, the consequence of that is too much spending, right? When you get too much spending, inflation spikes. Businesses raise prices because they can't. People are spending so much. If people are buying your product regardless of price, you might raise your price a little bit. And overall, that will bring inflation up. And that's what we saw. So 2020, the pandemic, the economy was at risk. People lost jobs. We were at risk for a recession and depression. And so the Fed stepped in. They cut rates. They brought interest rates down. They did what's called quantitative easing. Again, they bought up bonds, expanded their balance sheet, injected liquidity into markets, and these brought interest rates down to zero. And people started spending more. They started spending more. It influenced spending positively, of course. And then the consequence was inflation. Inflation spiked a few years ago to almost 8-9%. Because of the QE, because of the low interest rates. And so again, once you start understanding that, economics makes a little bit more sense once you start understanding like Fed decisions, rate cuts, rate hikes, interest rates, and how they affect everything else. But yeah. again, it's one of the reasons when people come in here and they say we're in a recession or depression, I kind of use that as an educational moment, because people really don't understand what a recession or depression is if they're saying we're in one right now. Because right now we're in a period where the Fed is literally trying to push the economy down. They're still doing, they're in the midst of QT of and again in QT, unlike QE, where the Fed is directly buying bonds and expanding their balance sheet, most of the time the Fed's doing QT, but it's not direct. They're not directly selling their bonds. Instead, they're just letting their current holdings mature, and they're not buying more to compensate for it, right? So that's called passive QT. We're in the middle of that right now, where the Fed is not buying up bonds. They're not expanding their balance sheet. They're kind of taking liquidity away from markets, and that's helping to keep interest rates high. And again, what we see right now is interest rates are high. Mortgages are 8%. Auto financing interest rates are high as well. You see interest rates high in lending in general right now. And again, the logic of it is that if you keep interest rates high, people have less money to spend. If you're spending $3,000 in mortgage payments versus $1,000 or whatever, if interest rates are low, $2,000, you're going to have less money to spend on other stuff, and thus, it discourages spending. It helps inflation to a certain extent because people spend less. Yeah, earnings season starts tomorrow with bank earnings. Indicator name. It's just my indicator. It's something I built. It's just, again, I'm not going to give you guys the code or anything. But the oil price is the economy's core problem of inflation. I don't think gas is super high right now. Let me see. Gas $2.79 a gallon in my area. It's not super bad, It's not crazy, I guess. Does the market expectation of PPI have year-over-year only month-over-month? Well, PPI specifically, we mostly look at month-over-month. They have a year-over-year reading, but nobody looks at it for PPI. They're almost always looking at the month-to-month increase, which is more relevant for for producer prices. Prices are never going to come back down. Well, inflation doesn't go down, it slows down. And so when I see go down, I'm not talking about directly prices dropping. I'm talking about slowing down, right? Inflation's going to happen no matter what. Very rarely after prices go up will they go back down, excluding food and energy, which is why you look at core a lot of the time. But very rarely do prices actually literally go down. Again, excluding food and energy. Outside of food and energy, we're not really looking for the prices to actually go down because that's very difficult to get. Instead, we're looking at the rise of prices to slow down, which is what, so instead of, again, CPI and inflation data came out yesterday at 3.5%, which means on the year, it's going up 3.5%. Now if we can get that down to 2%, which again, still means that prices are rising 2%, but it's the rate of rising is slowing. If inflation goes down, that is, right? And really, we're about flat, I think, but yeah. Yeah, this is my own custom indicator. I'm not gonna, sell it to you or anything like that. Sorry, bro. All right, looking at our poll numbers here. 72% of people think PPI is coming in higher than expected. Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys this, though. If we get a bunch of buy and sell gold people, I'm just going to ban you guys. Like a lot of the time on these big streams, people will just say the same thing over and over again. If it's just buy gold, if it's sell gold, you're going to get banned. Just a heads up warning, do not spam buy gold, sell gold in chat. I will ban you. I banned a lot of people yesterday for it. I'll do it again. Don't test me, guys. Yeah, basically, stay out of my way or you'll pay. Listen to what I say, okay? I might go, eat some hay, make things out of clay, lay by the bay. I just may. Okay? Don't test me. I love you guys, but don't test me. All right. Because you guys are so important to me. I love you guys, but don't cross me. But you're the best, okay? If you know that quote, you know, cheers to you. 47, Philip. Duh, you know? Yeah, I know I'm old because, you know, whenever somebody would do that before, the joke was mixtape coming soon, right? Now, young people say bars, you know? So... Does nobody really understand the reference I just used? It's from The Office, you know? Yeah, it's from Dwight from The Office. Yeah, Dwight says, I love you guys, but don't cross me. But you're the best. What you consider max pain? Market up or down? Hey, Envy, I appreciate the $2, brother. But I mean, listen, it's a little vague. What do I consider max pain? The SPY going to 0. You know, the S&P going to 0 is what I consider max pain. You know, well, give me some parameters for it. Like max pain, obviously S&P going to 0, market failing, nuclear war. You know, I don't. You know, it's too vague, brother. I appreciate the donation though. Thanks so much. Nvidia downtrending. Yeah, I mean Nvidia has been sideways for like months now. Really. Great video game, Max Payne. Oh, that's an options term for most contracts out the money. I'm not a big options guy, so yeah. I appreciate the donation though, brother. But yeah, I'm not the guy to ask anything about options, to be honest. I trade futures mostly, you know. So all right, chat. Yeah. If you ruin this market, I will burn this office to the ground. And I mean that figuratively, not literally, because you guys are so important to me. I love you guys, but don't cross me. But you're the best. You know, one of my favorite quotes ever. Top 3 for sure. I always wonder, John, did you take economics or did you learn by trial and error? Mostly trial and error. Yeah, I mean, I took economics classes, but I didn't major in it. Yeah. I'm not going to send anybody money. I can't tell if you're talking to me, Blaze, or somebody else, bro. Hold on, let me look you up here today. Oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. Okay, you can't be talking about me. I want $1, John. What about $2? Why were people talking about recession last year until recently? Because Jamie Dimon and other bearish people put out the expectation that we were going to hit a recession, and a lot of traders bought into it. Where do I send the article? Hey, thanks for the donation, brother. You inspired me to write it. I'd like you to see it. I don't know, bro. I guess Discord. Chad is writing articles. This might just be a ploy to promote his own articles, though. I mean, you know, again, I appreciate the donation. I really do. I want $2, John. What about $3? I'll give you 100 Shroot bucks. Okay. PPI comes out at 8:30. Might be right below me right here. Could say. It might say that right here, you know. In this area. Aki. You know. Good morning. Top 3 inspires in the world right now. Definitely top 3. Again, we bought Intel this morning. I don't know what it's gonna do. Yeah, I'm not saying that's them. What they're doing is trying to promote themselves. I'm just always suspicious, bro. Like, cause you'll get people that show up here, right? You'll get people that show up in the chat, and they're my best freaking friend. They're like, "Oh, you're the greatest, John. You help me so much. You're just the greatest trader of all time." You know, I love your channel. Your community's amazing. Like all this stuff, right? And then the next day they're like, "Hey guys, I've got a YouTube channel too. Will you go subscribe to me?" And it's like, "Oh, you're just being nice, trying to get a plug." I see it. You know, the amount of people that are fake nice to me just so they hope I promote their own stuff is crazy. And then when I don't let them promote their own stuff, they're like they turn into the biggest haters of all time, right? Like, I don't know how many people that have showed up here. They showed up here. They're super nice. They're my best freaking friend, right? And then they try to promote themselves the next day. They try to plug their content. They try to plug their YouTube channel, where a lot of the time they're doing exactly the same thing as me, right? So they're competing directly with me. And then when I'm like, "Nah, bro, you're not going to promote your stuff," then they say, "Oh no, it's fine." They're like acting like they're not really wanting to do that. They're like that wasn't even in their mind. Like, they just kind of threw that out there, you know. But then secretly they turn into like the biggest haters, and they just kind of sit around waiting to throw shots at me. Like, it happens way more than you think. I've probably had that happen to me at least 50 times since I ran this YouTube channel. At least 50. It's interesting to see it over time because it's really the same trend. You know, it's the same trend. It definitely was, Jay. You know. Yeah, dude, I'm top 3 in Discord. $2 trading journey. No, I'm good, Econ. It's just not something, you know. I mean, what's the symbol? Give me the symbol. I'll look at it. No, there's 45 minutes left until the data comes out. Bro, tell us buy or sell. Neither. No, I didn't buy this channel. Honestly, bro, you see some channels for sale. And number one, I would never buy another YouTube channel just because, like, okay. One thing you'll see, if you look at websites like Flippa.com, where you buy and sell online businesses, right? Like, most of the time, the websites and the stuff on those sites, right? Most of the time, the platform's there. Like, what they'll do is they'll feed it a bunch of fake viewers. They'll feed it tons of fake viewers, tons of fake subscribers. So it'll get like 1,000 to 5,000 subscribers or whatever. And fake viewers, right? And then they'll sell it to like naive people on the internet, right? So they'll sell it for 10 or 20K and they'll justify it by saying, oh, look how many subs and likes they get. And then the person buys it and they try to post a video and they get nothing. Like, they get no views, no interest. They might get fake viewers, but like, again, a lot of people from overseas just kind of rinse and repeat that, hoping somebody's dumb enough to buy stuff like that. It happens a lot, you know. Have you seen the footage from Powell's speechwriter? Yeah, the Fed Minutes report. We covered it. We got like 30,000 views for it. We covered the whole thing. We broke it down. And using AI and kind of reported about it. Can I promote my buy or sell low strategy? You can buy mine for 1K. It's trash, but it's genuine. Hey, top 3. Lagarde speaking. Oh, yeah, we do have the rate decision coming out in about 25 minutes or so. About 27 minutes or so. We don't care about a hater? That's all right. I mean, listen, I'm just trying to fill air here, so we're not just kind of sitting here not saying anything, twiddling my thumbs. Look at the NASDAQ dump down, though. So NASDAQ fell. We did get a bounce on my little alert there, but it didn't hold. NVIDIA testing the lows. We also have Tesla down there also. Oh, you're talking about a different video? Oh, my bad. That's the ADHD people the best. No, it's not ADHD. I have ADHD. I get obsessed with different things. But again, I have ADHD. I've never once gone to somebody else's channel and like trolled or hated on them. I just don't have time to do that. I don't think successful people behave that way. And I'm not claiming to be the most successful person ever, but I just don't have time to go to somebody else's channel and try to drag them down. I think that's a very desperate, like, insecure thing to do. And so I don't think we can blame it on I don't think we can blame it on ADHD. I think people just get insecure is what it is. And that's the people that, you know, behave that way. I'm top 3 most insecure people in the world right now. Cheers to you guys. James O'Keefe. Let me check it out. Let me see what you guys are talking about. I didn't see it, though. I didn't see it. Yeah, I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't see anything really. You know, if you're in a Discord, you can post it. I'll look at it. But dude, I can't answer half the nonsense you do. 100%, definitely 100%. Facts, John. If you have time for all that, pretty good chance not much else is going on. Yeah, for sure. You know. Not joking. I just see it plausible. People actually get inspired. Yeah, I mean, it's not ADHD. It's narcissist behavior. 1, represents nice person. 2, start to use you for their gain. 3, it's your fault. Right, 100%. That's exactly right, you know. And I'm not really one to keep labeling people narcissist. I think I think people label other people narcissistic way too much nowadays. They overuse the word narcissist. Where somebody has an ego, oh, they're narcissistic. Or somebody, like, again, everybody's not a narcissist. Everybody that has an ego is not a narcissist, right? But I think that type of behavior does truly show, like, narcissistic tendencies. Wisconsin, huh? Culver's, man. Some of the greatest fast food restaurant in the world right now. Top 3. I don't know. What is that? What is EMD? I'm not sure what that is. Don't do penny stocks. Yeah, we avoid penny stocks like the plague here. And really, we criticize penny stock investments because most of them are going to fail. Boeing's still dumping down. It's at 173s now, so it's looking pretty weak. We still got 40 minutes left until PPI data. We already got almost 900 people here live, so that's cool. Videos on the Discord. Let's check it out. Where on the Discord? I don't see it. Oh, oral. Okay, gotcha. Is this a troll? Okay, I see it. Oh, I see you. Yeah, I mean, again, while this is good, cool to look at and everything, it's a little bit too political for me to cover. I'm not going to cover any of this here. It's too politically biased, you know. While it's interesting, you know. My portfolio got smashed yesterday on PPI. Well, today's PPI. Yesterday was CPI. Not fair. It sucks the Fed can't tackle inflation and it hurts everybody. I mean, Raphael, though, listen, man. I'm assuming you're the Raphael that's been here for a while. Here's the problem, though, brother. Like, listen, here's the NASDAQ. Okay, here's the NASDAQ over the last year. And so my question to you, Raphael, is like, you know, you're complaining about losses a lot, right? But the NASDAQ did this over the past year. You know what I mean? So I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, did you genuinely miss out on this whole bull run? And because it dipped this much, you're now down? I don't understand. You know, like you get people complaining about bearish action a lot, but like we literally had this after this, you know? So I guess like if you're not saying anything positive during the big bull run and then you're only complaining when we dip, which is inevitable, we're going to pull back some. You know, my guess is like, what kind of trading are you doing? Because if you're missing out on the big bull run and only buying it when it's around highs, it doesn't seem like it's a profitable trading strategy or investing strategy. And I don't think you can necessarily blame that on the Fed or CPI or anything like that, because we've had the big moves. You know, we're not going to go straight up. I think higher PPI is priced in. Have you looked at energy? Yeah, I'm sure it's priced in to a certain extent. We never know, but yeah, we're going to cover the ECB rate decision for sure. Yeah, all good. I am Wall Street. Yeah, we'll see what the ECB decision does. I'm in Texas, so we going dark in a moment. I am. It's daylight time already on my end. Yep, actually did. I am in very sensible rate hike stocks. Okay, well then you should be up regardless then, right? I missed the whole bull run. Yeah, a lot of people did just based off of like bearish bias, you know. I'm going with the retail special. Yeah, this really is retail. When the market's moving up, it's up too much. I'm not going to buy it, you know. It's a scam market, they say. When the market starts dipping down, it's the end of the world. The sky's falling. How dare the market drop? It really is the polarized look that we get from running this YouTube channel, man. I really see it. Like the market's pushing up. Oh, this is every 0.5% red day. This is the start. This is the beginning of the crash, guys. Market rips up 24%. This is a scam market. We're in a bubble right now. Market pulls back 1%. This is the start of a market crash. It's like no matter what, it's bad. You know, again, too bearish of an outlook is what that is. You know, yeah. JP Morgan earnings tomorrow will be fun. We also have Wells Fargo, BLK, a bunch of other big banks. Gold up 18%. ECB is the European Central Bank, just like the Federal Reserve. It's influencing interest rates on their end, right? So they're doing the same thing the Fed does every 6 weeks, which is they're doing their rate decision. They're expecting a pause in interest rates, just like the Federal Reserve is expecting a pause in the next meeting. Yeah, I mean, I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, originally, so I'm more of a Louisiana person, but Texas is cool. Yeah, I mean, I use ripping way too much, for sure. Like, I use the word ripping way too much, but most of the time I'm describing, like, day trading movement. And so I'm not meaning, you know, I'm not meaning we're genuinely, like, ripping up or ripping down. I'm usually just talking about, like, short-term momentum. I'd love to come here one day and say I'm positive net on my portfolio. Trust me, that would be nice. Yeah, I mean, again, what it sounds like you need to do, Raphael, and again, I'm going to preface this because with I have no idea what you should do. I'm not liable if you lose. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong about everything I say. Don't copy me. I'm not an investment professional. Again, I'm one of the top 3 worst traders of all time ever in the world. I understand CFTC 4.41 and all that other stuff. Yeah, so again, with that said out the way, what I think you should probably do, brother, is just wait for pullbacks and then dollar cost average over longer periods of time. Hey, bud. Hey, buddy. Love you, man.
Love you.
Have a great day, bud. Here, hold on. Love you.
Love you.
Have a good day. All right, chat, we're back. Sorry, my kids are going to school. Yeah, but again, what I would think would be a good move there. Again, I'm going to preface it with I have no idea what I'm talking about. Do not copy me. I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose, all that good stuff, right? What I would do is I would just dollar cost average into blue chip healthy stocks or index funds. You can do it on pullbacks if it makes you feel better, and then just sit on them for years. Right? Like that, again, if you're struggling to make money, that's the highest percentage play you could ever take in the market is DCAing into healthy blue chip stocks or index funds. If it was me personally, like what I would probably do is buy the NASDAQ, buy the S&P, buy the Dow, buy gold, buy real estate investment trusts, buy some crypto, and I would just sit on that for 5 to 10 years. You're almost guaranteed to make money if you do that. If you're trying to trade too short term and you just kind of keep losing money, you know, or if you're one of those people that can't not touch it, right? Like a lot of in order to make that type of money, you can't mess with it. You can't touch it. You can't play with it. You have to just kind of leave it there. If you're one of those people that don't have the discipline to do that, then get a financial planner and have him do it. You know, and that way it kind of takes you out of the equation. I don't have 5 to 10 years. Well, then, you know, again, the shorter term, you try to make big money. Again, people have this misconception that like you can make 5% a day in markets, day trading. And it's the most ridiculous expectation you could ever have. Like genuinely making 5% a day is silly. The only people really claiming you can are people who don't understand like probabilities or what that means. A lot of them are new to markets. You get a bunch of bad advice on social media nowadays from people telling you can make 5% a day and all this ridiculous stuff. And so again, the more money you try to make short term, the more likely you are to lose your account. You know, so if you try to make 5% every day, again, you might get away with it for the first few tries. Eventually, you're going to lose your account, right? And again, in between that, like for the period of time where people get away with it, somebody will take a huge gamble, risk their whole account, make 5%. And then they'll do it again the next day and get lucky and make 5%. And that point in time, they might be like, yo, I've got this great freaking system. Nobody knows. I'm going to be rich now, guys. Woohoo. Right. And then eventually the check comes and they lose their whole account. And so, again, it really is something where have reasonable expectations for markets. I'm not saying you can't day trade. I'm not saying you can't make money short term. But the more money you try to make, the more likely you are to lose your account eventually. All those things cost money and I'm trying to make it. Okay, so let me get this straight, Z. You don't want to invest. You don't have any money, yet you are trying to get rich in stocks, you know? Explain it. Because I'm listening, you know? You can't with options. I mean, you could, but you're, again, like, listen. The problem with trading in general, right, is that there's a saturation of nonsense gurus out here telling you can get rich if you just buy their mentorship program or course or whatever it is. You know, you hear people throwing out these crazy big numbers where they're just lying, basically. Like, an example of it is like, okay, I can take a crazy big risk, right? My Thinkorswim account's got, you know, hundreds of thousands of buying power in it. If I wanted to take a big risk and make a couple percent, 2, 3, 4%, I probably could get away with it, right? The problem is that if say I take a crazy big unreasonable risk in this account and I make 5K from it, you know, and I make 5K in 1 week doing it, right? A lot of nonsense day trading gurus will go out there and be like, yeah, bro, I'm making 5K a week. Look at me. I'm making $5,000 a week. Really, they're not. They made $5,000 1 week, and they took a crazy big gamble to do so. And now they're so desperate for that validation that they're just kind of out here claiming to make 5K a week. You know, starting to sell mentorship programs and courses when really they're losing money long term. Like, that is very, very common in this community or in this sector of, you know, business. Like, there's a lot of people that act that way. There's a lot of people that do it. And if you're naive and you're just entering these markets, you might eat it up. You might be gullible enough to believe it. And that's where you get stuck spending thousands of dollars on nonsense courses, on mentorship programs. A lot of people just get taken for a ride doing that stuff and lose a lot of money doing it. Again, most day traders lose. And so you just got to have to get into it with that understanding. In the beginning, you should be trading small and slow. The bigger you trade in the beginning, the more money you're going to lose. All right, PPI drops in about 25 minutes. We do have the ECB rate decision in about 10 minutes, chat. So we do have some economic stuff dropping soon. We'll see if we get anything good. Yeah, and I always tell people the same thing, and I try to say this multiple times a week just because it's important that people hear it, right? A lot of the time, it hurts to look at it objectively. Like, if you get sold on this stuff, right, and you think that you're just going to change your life because of this mentorship program, it might really genuinely hurt to stop, take a step back, and look at it objectively and accept the fact that that's not going to happen, right? Like, that might hurt. And some people are so emotional about it that they get mad at me for it. Like, they blame me for it because I'm shattering their dreams over here. And I get it, right? I really do understand. It's always the best move to look at things with the truth in mind, under the lens of the truth, right? We could all pretend, I could pretend I'm going to get rich tomorrow winning the lottery. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. And so you have to look at things objectively, especially in trading, and you have to be brutally honest with yourself, because if you're not, you are susceptible to getting manipulated, you know? Same way people get stuck in multi-level marketing pyramid scheme nonsense for years. Again, I've tried to talk people out of pyramid schemes, you know? Like, I've tried to talk friends that have been like, hey, yo, you're in a pyramid scheme right now, right? And again, they literally teach them scripts to argue with the people with, like, if your business creates a script to argue against criticism for pyramid schemes, you know, think about it. Is that really a business you want to get involved with? You can't handle the truth. Yeah. That's why I'm coming to your channel with another POV to see what you say. Well, I'm telling you the truth, which is, are you trading the ECB decision? I don't know. I don't know how much volatility we're specifically going to get. We're almost certain to pause, but I think overseas they are a little bit less likely to do what's expected. But I still think we're going to pause interest rates. A lot of dishonest people out there who just want money. I like money too. You know, I'm not here out of the kindness of my heart. I'm here to make money. I wouldn't do this if I didn't make money. But again, I'd rather trust somebody that tells me that straight up than tries to trick me into thinking I'm some type of self-righteous guru just out here trying to help people with millionaire students and paying for charities and, you know, creating schools overseas, guys. Like, get the F out of here, bro. Never mind. I'm not going to talk about who that is, but you got a bunch of weird, you know. Anyways, I love money too. Hey. How does PPI affect markets? PPI is producer prices, is business inflation. How much prices are rising for businesses? It's the other side of CPI, which dropped yesterday. It was universally higher than expected, although it was about flat month to month, right? So inflation was flat month to month. It was neutral month to month, although it was higher than expected yesterday. Today, it's expected at 0.3%, exactly what CPI was expected at, right? So it'll be an interesting look. Higher is generally worse, so higher PPI will probably be worse, although, again, PPI is not as definitive in terms of... PPI has less of a predictable reaction. So it is something where we could come in low for PPI and still drop. We could come in high for PPI and still move up. We really don't know. We got the little dip and bounce there. In a downward trend, I would argue now for the NASDAQ. Need 5 years. I don't know if it's 5 years. It depends on how long you do it or how often you're doing it. But I'm not going to mention any... gurus or people specifically here. Jobless claims also drops at 8:30. It's expected at 217K. It's how many people are filing for unemployment month to month, or week to week. I'm sorry. Yeah, we got about 5 minutes into the ECB decision. Canada's beautiful, bro. Like, I've got family that live in Canada. It's really a beautiful country. At least southern Canada is. Northern Canada is beautiful as well. It's just essentially unlivable up there. It's so cold. ECB data drops in about 4 minutes. 4 minutes, chat. It's not trash day. It is not trash day. We got 20 minutes left until PPI data, but we got the ECB rate decision in about 4 minutes exactly. Yeah, and remember, if PPI ruins this market, I will burn this office to the ground, and I mean that figuratively, not literally, because you guys are so important to me. I love you guys, but don't cross me. You're the best. I'm going to use that quote about 5 times today. Whew. All right, PPI inflation data. Again, core PPI expected at 0.2%. It's actually expected to decrease month to month. Last time it showed up at 0.4%. Base PPI month to month last time showed up at 0.6%. It's expected at 0.3%. Jobless claims last time was 221,000. This time it's expected at 217. So it is expected to decrease a little bit in terms of how many people are filing for unemployment week to week, which signals more economic growth. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing right now, though. Again, with a hawkish Fed trying to keep interest rates high with QT and high federal funds rate, I don't know if economic growth is going to be seen as a positive or optimistic thing for markets. I think inflation is a risk. I think yesterday's inflation report was worse than expected, and that signals less of a need to cut rates and more of a need to keep interest rates high for longer to discourage spending by keeping interest rates high. We'll see if that happens. Again, we're waiting here, chat. We do have the ECB decision in about 2.5 minutes. Does the market go up or down, chat? Let me know. Can you provide a course for your follower? For my singular follower? Or all of my followers? 234,000 or 134,000 of you guys. Did we break 134K net? Oh, we need 30 subs left. Listen, we're about to throw it in sub only mode here, chat. So if you haven't already subscribed, we appreciate it. I don't sell a course. I don't sell a service myself. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't see a valid argument for rate cuts. Me neither. I think it's too early to cut rates. I think inflation's still sticky, and if we cut rates early, we could cause inflation spikes. I don't think it's a good move. When are we going to cut rates, chat? Are you really the top 3 trader of all time? Definitely top 3 worst trader of all time ever in the world. The only way is up, maybe. Hey, we'll see. We got 1 minute left before the ECB decision. Again, it's almost certainly going to be a pause, guys, so it's going to be kind of nothing, but we'll see. They could shock markets, I guess. All right, so U.S. Treasury official Shambo expressing concerns on financial strains in emerging markets, according to Reuters. All right, chat, here we go. Here's the ECB decision, about 40 seconds here. About 40 seconds for the ECB. We still got about 15 minutes until the PPI data shows up here in the U.S. If it's a pause, the market will go up. Not necessarily. A pause is what's expected. It's kind of a neutral reading. We don't know what the market's going to do. Maybe. You might be right. You might be wrong, though. All right, chat. Hey, we got 15 minutes. 15 minutes. All right, so here's the decision, and markets are up a little bit from it, but again, we paused, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we paused. If they didn't pause and they did like a surprise cut, markets would be much more reactive to that. So, yeah, so they paused. They kept it at 4.5% for the refinancing rate, deposit rate at 4%. It was a pause. Markets didn't really react. ECB marginal lending rate for April is at 4.75%. So yeah, it's a pause. Rates unchanged. They reaffirm that policy rates will stay sufficiently restricted for as long as necessary. I think that's a good move, and I think that's what we need to do as well. So again, here's the ECB statement. Definitely a hawkish tone. And if you haven't already, guys, again, check out Apex's funded account program if you want to day trade. We are going to get ready to day trade this here live as well. So we are going to day trade this live as well. We've already made a little bit of money specifically trading the E-mini. So we've basically been day trading the E-mini this morning, which is the SPY price action in futures. And the good thing about futures is that you can actually day trade, you know, essentially the SPY in futures with no PDT roll in what's called the E-mini. We might short this. A little bit early to short it, I guess. We'll add to it. And again, you can kind of see I'm buying market straight into this. It's very similar to day trading stocks. There's just no PDT roll. I'm using a funded account program called Apex. Again, they are a sponsor of mine. I'm definitely biased because they pay me money, right? But I really do think it's a good move. Most day traders lose money. And so if you put up thousands of dollars yourself, we're going to go ahead and cut half of that. If you put up thousands of dollars yourself in the futures market, or in trying to day trade stocks, you're probably going to lose thousands and thousands of dollars. Almost all day traders lose. And so with that in mind, it doesn't make any sense to risk thousands of dollars in the beginning. Instead, try a funded account program. Apex is one of the most legit in the world. They've paid out over $100 million to their traders. They fund thousands of traders. What they do is they give you a demo and they test your skill. If you could pass the test with the demo, the base one is a 25K funded program. If you can make 1,500 without losing 1,500 first and following their rules, again, they fund you 25K with a 90% split. And so the good thing is, like, if you pass this test, you get a 90% split funded account, right? So base one's 25K funded account with a 90% split. The top one is like 300K. You know, it's a little bit more expensive. But if you lose it, right, if you lose the base one, if you fail the challenge or whatever, you're only down 30, 35 bucks if you use my link. Again, if you use my link, you get 80% off right now. There's a one-day pass as well. So again, it's just a great way to learn how to day trade. And to be fair, I'm always pretty honest. Number one, they're a sponsor. I'm biased because they pay me money, right? Number two, most day traders lose. And I think that's the same here. I think most day traders will lose these accounts as well because it doesn't matter whether they day trade here or they day trade on, we're going to go ahead and cut this about break even. It doesn't matter whether they day trade here or they day trade on Thinkorswim or TD Ameritrade. Most day traders lose. It's a lot cheaper to lose here. Your risk is much more limited. If you lose the base one, again, your risk is 30, 35 bucks, right? So it's not the end of the world if you lose. But again, 90% split once you're funded. And again, they paid out over 100 million. I'm day trading the SPY price action as well. You can also day trade the QQQ price action and what's called the NASDAQ. The only main difference between this and other stocks is sizing differences. But again, if you want to get the max discount on Apex, use coupon code BT, beginner trading, BT. All right, so we did get a dip. Not a good fill here. We're going to try to take some risks because we already have a cushion on the day that we can play with here. So we'll take 8 contracts here. A little bit larger size, but that's all right. Just because I think we could chop back down after PPI. I might be wrong here, though, chat. Don't copy me. And again, we're already very green in this account anyway. So even if we lose this, it's not the end of the world. All right, so we got 12 contracts here. That's going to be the max. And we're taking this risk because we're already green on the day. I'm probably going to cut it if this doesn't turn on us. All right, so retracing back down. So now we're basically flat. There we go. Take half off there, lock it in. Nice little breakdown here. Take a little bit more off there, lock it in, protect the trade. We got 2 contracts left. There we go. Take a little bit more off there. And we'll go ahead and get out the rest there. So not a bad little green trade here. We'll take it. Mark Douglas. Yeah. People are bad at trading. Yeah, I mean, people lose money for sure. Can you explain variance? Variance is... Okay, so... You know, I always use a poker example because that's where my background is poker, right? Like, I love poker. Very similar to trading, risk, reward, rise, and variance-wise, right? Like, you might do everything right in poker and still lose money. You might have pocket aces and lose to 5-6. offsuit. In trading, you might have an A plus beautiful setup and still lose, right? So there is variance, meaning you might do everything right and still lose. You could have good variance as well. You might do everything wrong and still win in poker. You might have 6-7 and beat aces in poker if you get lucky on the flop. But I guess the point is like, and this is where sizing implications matter the most, right? The only real way to let a true edge play out in poker is getting a lot of sample in, getting a large sample size, getting a lot of reps in, getting a big sample size is the only way to really let an edge play out, because you might have short-term variance, right? You might win or lose when you shouldn't short-term, but if you get enough reps in, your edge is going to start playing out, right? It gets past variance the longer you do it. And trading is a very similar thing. And it's one of the reasons the PDT rule is ridiculous, because the PDT rule restricts you to 3 trades a week for a new trader. Like, there's so much variance in short-term trading that 3 trades a week is going to make it really difficult for you to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's one of the most ridiculous rules. Again, it's another reason futures are good, because there's no PDT rule in futures. But yeah, so I hope that makes sense. We got 8 minutes, chat. 8 minutes. Will inflation data come in high or low? Does the market go up or down from the inflation report? Let me know what you guys think. We got about 1,700 people here live. We still got about 7.5 minutes here, chat. Let's do this. I don't know if we're going to come in higher or lower. I really don't know. You get Nvidia still flat. We're looking at Tesla too, but get ready, guy. ECB paused. They didn't raise rates. We did get a breakdown like we thought we would. We should have held it a little bit longer, but it's all right. We're kind of slowly making money. Yeah, so BLK, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo all drop earnings tomorrow, right? So tomorrow's big bank earnings coming out. So it's a big day tomorrow too, for sure. All right, chat. Give me your last minute predictions for PPI out in chat. What's the percentage you think PPI is going to show up as? I'm going to go with point. I'm going to go with as expected PPI. I'm going to go with 0.3% for PPI. Core PPI, again, I'm going to go with as expected at 0.2%. I might be wildly wrong. I'm straight up just guessing here, chat, so do not copy me. Yeah, again, I'm happy with the trade. I'm all right with it. I was right about the direction, but didn't hold it long enough, but it's all good. .5%, 0.3%, 1%. 1% ain't happening. Maybe 1 basis point. PPI cooler, lower than expected. Yeah, we'll see. Nasdaq's testing lows here. I'm gonna put up 2 charts to make it a little bit cleaner here, so you can see both of them. I'm gonna put up the SPY here on the top right. So here's the SPY on the top right, testing lows. 5 minutes, chat. 5 minutes. Chat's trying to guess the interest rate, or not the interest rate, the increase in inflation for PPI data. Does a cool data drop even matter right now? Yes, it matters. Low inflation is going to be seen as an optimistic thing, especially if you want rate cuts. High inflation is going to be making the market look more bleak, because inflation's still a problem. If inflation data comes in high, it signals a less likelihood of interest rates coming down anytime soon. To understand it again, if inflation's a problem, the Federal Reserve is going to keep interest rates high. Why? Because if you're spending more money in mortgage payments and auto financing, you have less money to spend on other things, and spending less money makes prices go down because businesses lower pricing if spending dries up, right? The opposite is true. If inflation data looks better than expected, it's more likely the Fed's going to start bringing interest rates back down, because if less people are spending, or if more people are spending, if you have more money to spend on other things, like say you're paying less in mortgage payments, right? Say you're spending $1,000 a month instead of $1,500, you're going to have more money to spend on other things. And so if interest rates are low and inflation's not under control, it can make it spike, because the more people that spend, the more businesses raise prices. That's the logic of this. That's what the Fed does. And so, again, it's a very important report, because we have to see what inflation looks like, and we've got to know what the Fed is choosing to do. Right now, the expectations are for a September rate cut. But again, we'll have to wait and see what Powell says next month in terms of the FOMC decision and meeting. What he says in terms of when we're going to cut rates. I don't think it's going to be next month at all. Yeah, I mean, Christian, I'm not sure you really paid attention. Yesterday when CPI came out, we had 5,000 people live, Christian. And again, it's pretty provable as well. I mean, you could try to troll me about it, and, we got 3 minutes, chat. But it's actually really easy to prove. Check it out. Yeah, so check this out, bro. Really easy to prove. My peak viewer count yesterday for CPI was 5,100. It sounds like you just got bad internet that, doesn't reflect it. But again, YouTube analytics, 5,100 people were there for my CPI report. You love to see it. Keep hating, bro. Cheers to you, man. Best data release channel out there. Hey, y'all hit the like button, guys. We got PPI about to drop right now. Expectations are 0.3%, chat. 0.3%. We'll see what happens, but 0.3% expectation. Let me know what you guys think we're going to show up as. We had the ECB pause rates. That's awesome. I see your channel getting bigger. Oh, yeah, we're definitely growing, man. Got real silent in here real quick, huh? Again, I don't know, even if it was only 2,500, it's like, what is that, chop liver? Like, oh no, only 2,500 people watching me right now. Like, come on. Look at the markets testing lows here, guys. Testing lows. We'll see if we bounce here at this support level. Again, we got about 1 minute and 20 seconds. This is a little bit early. Actually, this is pretty spot on in terms of when the report actually comes out. So we'll keep this running. Top 3 haters in the world right now, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we got 2,400 viewers, Christian, Again, it sounds like your internet's just bad, bro. We got 2,500 now, and that's all right. PPI usually gets a little bit less, but... He's just big mad. It's all good. All right, hey, we got 40 seconds left. Hey, thank you, Shreep. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. All right, so we're getting a little spike at that low level. We got 30 seconds. Hit the live button next to the play button to make sure you're fully caught up on stream. Hit the live button, chat. Yeah, we got 2,600 now. We'll probably have around 3,000, which is pretty good for PPI. All right, guys. We got about... This is actually exact, right? Look at this. A little bit early. All right, here we go. Again, 0.3% is what's expected. Let's see what we get, chat. And I'm going to pause this right now. All right, there's the report, guys. PPI showed up at 0.2%. 0.2% for PPI, lower than expected PPI data. Jobless claims came in at 211,000, lower than the 216,000. So PPI data showed better inflation data than expected at 0.2 versus 0.3%, lower inflation data than expected. NVIDIA spike it up, the E-mini spike it up, the SPY is spike it up. I'm going to put the NASDAQ up here. And again, look at the NASDAQ spike. SPY is spiking up. NVIDIA spiking up. Again, lower jobless claims at 211. Lower PPI than expected. Lower year-over-year PPI. And then core PPI showed up at a little bit higher than expected, actually. So a little bit higher than expected core PPI year over year. Flat month to month core PPI, but again, lower inflation data. Nvidia spiking up to 870s. 870s. So the market likes low inflation data, and that's exactly what we're showing here. Again, PPI inflation data showed up lower than expected at 0.2%, 0.2% versus 0.3% expected number. So again, the market likes this, chat. We'll put this number up. Jobless claims showed up lower as well at 211 versus 216,000. So we'll put that up on screen. But yeah, jobless claims lower than expected, signaling a little more jobs than expected and better inflation numbers. So I think optimistic numbers here. And again, look at the market rip. The Nasdaq's ripping up, the SPY's ripping up, Nvidia's bouncing all the way up to 875. So a really big bounce here, chat. A really big bounce. So again, what do you guys think? Yeah, realistically, he's probably somebody that used to watch the channel, or maybe was somebody I knew, or somebody that wanted to work with the channel and ended up just getting toxic and booted out of here. And now they're kind of obsessively trying to throw me off, which is, again, I kind of like the trolls. It gives me something to talk about. Look at the market pulling back, though, a little bit, and then having that 1 minute pullback. Nvidia up to 875s. SPY up to 514. So the SPY is now technically green on the day after a red open. I'm trying to see where the previous closing price in the Nasdaq is. So the Nasdaq is now technically green on the day. Google is now technically green on the day as well. Tesla now technically green on the day too. A lot of tech stocks are spiking up big. It could be from Nvidia though. Nvidia making a big pop up to 875. Sure you are, buddy. You know. Good day to you, sir. It's not someone who knows you. It's somebody who lost money and got toxic, potentially, you know. Tesla at 172s. 172s. So again, I'm looking green here today. Really nicely green as well. Apple's still trying to spike up some, but look at this good market reaction. It's surprising how much the market responds well to PPI data, which is the less relevant inflation report. The market tanked yesterday, 2-1 CPI, so we're rebounding back up. We're not quite back to where we were. If we look at this, we're still down quite a bit after CPI yesterday. The SPY was way up here at 520s, and so us bouncing back up to 513s is not like a crazy big reaction, but it's interesting to see what happens. Do you guys think we're going to hold these gains, I guess is the question. Making money today. Yeah, it's a good market. Hey, we'll see if we continue. And again, if you want to check out my sponsor, we'll try to day trade these here. We're up a little bit too much right now, but again, we're going to try to day trade this in futures. And you can see I can buy market, sell market. I'll probably wait for a little bit of a dip though. It's a little bit up too much. If we get a pullback, we'll probably buy into this and try to day trade a dip. And again, I'm doing this on Apex. It's a funded account program in futures. They give you a demo. If you could pass the test with the demo, this is a 50K funded account. And so to get funded in this 50K account, they gave me a demo of 50K. I had to make 3K in profit without losing 2,500 first. And as long as I can do that and follow their rules, I got funded 50K. I'm now green really nicely in this account. We're green on the day on it as well. And again, right now you can get 80% off. They have accounts as cheap as 25K funded accounts. It's like 30 or 35 bucks. The 50K one I think is like 40 or 45 bucks. The reason Apex is really nice is because you can use up to 40 micro contracts, which is plenty of size, really plenty of size. You can get accounts up to 300K, static accounts. Right now, resets are 50% off, I'm pretty sure as well. And again, it's a one-day pass. So if you pass this test today, you get funded today. Again, Apex has paid out over 100 million. And in the futures market, it's a great way to expose yourself to day trading with less risk, right? Instead of risking thousands. I'm not saying you're not going to lose money. And they're a sponsor of mine, so I'm biased. But it's a lot cheaper to lose on Apex than to put up thousands yourself and lose that. It's just a lot cheaper. And again, if you pass it, you get a 90% split once you're funded anyway. So the reward is similar to your own money, but the risk is noticeably less in my opinion, right? But again, they are a sponsor. I'm biased. Understand this rule and all this good stuff. Well, you can trade. You just can't. You can trade news events, chat. You just can't trade. Like, I can't take really big size ahead of the news event and then try to get funded in one big swing from the news, right? Because then all you'd have to do is try it a few times on news and automatically get funded. That's what they discourage. Although, check their rules. But if you trade your own strategies, they let you do it. I'm pretty sure, even if there is news, it just has to be consistent strategies that you've been using, not some new crazy strategy of just trying to YOLO the news event, if that makes sense. Again, if you do want to check out Apex, promo code is BT. It'll get you the max 80% discount. Yeah, I love to see this rip. I'm glad. Yeah, you can't, or you might be able to YOLO. Oh, actually, I think you're right. Create. I think if it's a PA account, you can't. But if it's an evaluation account, I think you can YOLO the news, right? But this is a PA account. This is a funded account, so I'm not gonna YOLO the news on this, you know, unfortunately. Yeah. So the past. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to get funded, you actually can do that. You just can't. Do it on an actual funded account. Apex MA. The link is in the description. Again, if you want to check it out, here's the link again. Promo code BT. It'll get you the max discount. It's a good way to learn how to day trade it. I think most day traders lose. So I think most day traders are going to lose on Apex as well, just because most day traders lose. It's just a lot cheaper to learn and lose on Apex. When I first started, I lost like 4K in 3 weeks, right? And that's a very common story. Everybody thinks they're going to get rich. They're going to be some savant, and most people lose. And so limit your risk. Learn how to day trade with this first. I think it makes perfect sense. Although, of course, like I said, I'm biased. They're a sponsor. They pay me money. I'm biased. Came in later. We pumping? Yes. I mean, the market is for sure right now. Nvidia's up to almost 880s. SPY up to 515s. So again, markets reacted very well to CPI data. Apex has paid out over $100 million. They paid out over $25 million last month. Again, Tesla at 173s. Google all the way back up to 158, almost green on the day now. So rate cuts get more double. Now, this might help rate cut probabilities as well, because again, this signals less of a need to keep interest rates high. Although I think CPI showed us that we still should keep interest rates high for the inevitable future, or for the we still should keep interest rates high indefinitely into the future. But I think this is better for rate cut arguments. Although it's still not. I don't think it's a good argument to say we should cut rates now. I think we should wait as long as we can. I'm in Intel right now. Did that position do well? Yeah, I'm green on Intel. Nice. Okay, cool. I gotta stop playing with these reports. Yeah, just don't gamble on the reports. It's really risky, you know. Hey, nice, Eric. How do you assess the inflation report in its totality between yesterday and now today? Well, consumer prices rose versus expectations, although they were mostly flat month to month. PPI, so producer prices, trickled down month to month and came in lower than expected. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. Consumer prices remained elevated. Producer prices did decrease month to month. They didn't literally decrease. They slowed month to month, I should say. The rated increase decreased is the easier way to put it. Tradeovate's just a platform. I mean, I'm friendly with multiple different platforms. It's not just Apex. You know, we promoted Top Step a few days ago, so we promote both. But yeah, Trend is your friend for sure. Yeah, we'll see if this holds. Again, I'm going to end this poll right now and ask people, did these gains from PPI hold into market? Let me see. This is the latest upward move from PPI inflation. Hold into today's open. Yes or no, vote in the poll. We might buy this dip here. Again, we need a larger dip for me to buy it, but we got the previous closing price underneath us for a lot of these. And so I want there to be a little bit larger pullback, but we might start to get in with one contract here. And then maybe add some more on these dips. There we go, there's two. We got a nice little cushion on the day. So again, we'll probably add more if we pull back more. We can scale into these positions now because again, we're already green on the day. Again, remember, tomorrow we have big bank earnings. So tomorrow, big bank earnings could influence things. JP Morgan, BLK, Wells Fargo, all drop tomorrow. All right, so we got 3 contracts now. Let's scale into maybe, we're going to risk the gains that we've made on the day. So we're going to kind of slowly add. We'll take 5 contracts max, though. So there's 5 contracts. We'll see if this treats us well. Just because we've got like the previous closing price and a bunch of other levels underneath us, that might treat us right. We'll see. All right, so we took half off there. We'll take another half off, lock that in, protect the trade. What? Weird. My P&L says I lost money when I didn't. You know, my actual balance is green. But very weird. It says I lost $100 out of nowhere, which I didn't. Again, sometimes quant towers like that though. The question is, do I want to add to this and try to scale into another position? I guess I can, and just we'll have some fun with it. I like the dip. I like the level. We'll add one more to this, and then we'll see if we retrace back up. There we go. All right, took a little bit more off. Take a little bit more off there, protect it. We'll give this a little bit of time to work. We got 2 contracts left. We've made money. We'll give this a little bit of time to work. Watch the SPY here dipping down to the previous close. Watch NVIDIA as well. All right, we just took a little bit more off. There we go. Nice. Let's go ahead and cut that. All right, so not too shabby here. I don't know what's up with my... Again, we're green on the day. I don't know why my P&L showed this big loss. We didn't lose. Yeah. So there's the bounce. Yeah, BOK is not a bank, but it's a fund, so it's similar. I just kind of group it with the banks. John, can you explain how come on news yesterday the market went down and on today it's going up? Because yesterday CPI came in worse than expected, higher than expected, and today it came in lower than expected, better than expected. All right, so we built up a cushion on the day that we can play with now. So we're gonna take 2 contracts. See if we could scalp some small little gains here and maybe add to these positions on pullbacks and wait. Very small position here. We got 2 contracts in micro, so it's not the end of the world. We've already built up a nice cushion. I just want to see if we bounce some more. And again, somebody's talking about scaling. I'm scaling now because I have a cushion on the day, right? So I can take a risk, and if I lose, I'm still break even on the day, that is. And so that's what I'm doing here is I'm building up a cushion first, and then once I have a green cushion on the day, then I can scale in and take larger risks. And if it turns on me, I'm still okay. I'm flat versus, you know, losing a lot more, you know. So if we lose this position, we're about break even on the day, unfortunately, but better than losing big, you know. We'll give it one more second, but heading back up. I'm actually going to scale out of some size here just to protect my trade. So I'm not like, so if it does turn, I'm not huge losses on the day. Now we can hold 3 contracts and try to let it work a little bit more. I do think we're going to bounce here. We're right at the previous closing price, so I do think we're going to bounce. But I see Tesla pulling all the way back to the VWAP. Where's NVIDIA is the question. There's NVIDIA starting to bounce too. That's nice. Okay, good. There we go. Took half off. Take another off, and we'll hold the rest to let it work. Nice. Cut the rest there. All right, so not a bad little string of trades. We could have made more if we would have held, but again, I think risk management wise, I think it's probably a good move to just kind of protect and limit risk. So Falcon, it would be lose, L-O-S-E, not loose, L-O-O-S-E. One of the biggest spelling mistakes I see. But I mean, yeah, it's all good. If you disagree with my trading, it's okay. I'm only really risking what I'm up on the day, right? So if you see me scale into a position and maybe it looks like I'm getting stubborn with it, maybe I am, but I'm only doing that if I have the justifiable cushion on the day, right? Like, I don't really trade like that right off the get-go. What I try to do is, again, I try to build up a small cushion. If I can make $100 to $200 in profit on a small trade, then I'm more likely to trade like I just was, where I can take 4 or 5 contracts with big size and try to really make a little bit more money. And if I lose, I'm back to break even. I'll lower my size, lower my risk, trade smaller, and rinse and repeat that until it sticks with good trades. Yeah, we were exactly right about our directional bias too. Like, you can see the SPY bounced. Again, if you're not watching the previous closing price, you're making a mistake, I think, because it's just so influential. Like, look at the SPY pull back to that level, bounce directly off of it. It's just a really relevant level. We bought Intel this morning, and that Intel trade's going really nice also. Google breaking highs as well, looking really good. We're up actually really nice in equities today. We scaled into Nike a few days ago also, and that one is doing very nice for us as well. I mean, it's not market manipulation. There's a rhyme or reason. Again, predicting technical moves is trying to predict mass psychology, right? So the way you do it is you look at milestone levels, essentially, is what you're looking at. You're trying to find, and again, when I look at indicators, you get some people that just throw 1,000 different indicators on their chart. I'm not one of those people. I'm kind of a purist. I use the 200 EMA and the volume weighted average price. And then I also look at the previous closing price. Those three. But you got to understand like psychology behind it. I'm looking at milestone levels. So if the SPY breaks over this, the S&P breaks over this, and then pulls back to it, this is the red to green level right here. This is a level in which a lot of retail traders are watching this specific level. Why? Because if the SPY is over this level, it's technically green. If the SPY is below this level, it's technically red. And so when we push over it and then pull back to it, a bounce is probable. That's how I was able to say way back here, hey, I think we're going to bounce right here. Because, again, the SPY's pulling back directly to that level. It literally pulled back to the exact spot of the previous close. If you look at the previous close, it literally bounced directly off of that level. And so there's a rhyme or reason behind it. You know, it might be self-fulfilling, and so it might be, you know, traders think it's going to bounce there, so it bounces there, but it doesn't mean it's just random, I guess is the point. Oh, there's definitely market manipulation, but, you know. Yeah, well, technical analysis works because other people think it works. And so if everybody thinks something's going to bounce, it does. If everybody thinks something's going to fail or reject, a lot of the time it does. It's one of the reasons, like, you get people who, they're just trying to look cool. Like, they put up all these crazy freaking indicators where it looks, it's so ridiculous on their charts. They've got all these crazy, ridiculous indicators on their chart. That doesn't work because it's diluting. You know, like when I use indicators, right? I use the 200 EMA, a long-term moving average. Why? Because the 200 EMA has a lot of people watching it. And so I'm not going to use the 23, you know, exponential. I'm not going to use something that is so obscure that nobody's watching it, right? I'm going to use something that a lot of people are watching it. And I think that's the mindset you have to have with indicators. Same thing with the volume weighted average price. It's not the 9, the 12, the 20, the 25, the 23 SMA, EMA combo. It's a milestone level, the volume weighted average price. It's a milestone level, the 200 EMA. It's a milestone level, the previous closing price. And so again, probability wise, right? Like what I like to do in futures is I like to look for us to break over a bunch of those milestone levels. You can see the SPY broke over the 200 EMA, the VWAP, and the previous closing price. And so not only do you have the support of the VWAP, the support of the 200 EMA, the support of the previous closing price, they're all right around the same spot, which makes it a really strong support level. It's why you see the SPY rip up, pull back to it, hold directly off of it, and continue up. Now, it might not hold forever, but an initial bounce there is really probable just because everybody's watching it. And again, I can't guarantee you're going to make money. Nobody can. This is just the way I specifically trade. I can't guarantee it's going to work for you. Again, nobody can, but I think it makes sense if you really look at it objectively and think about it. But it's all good. I might be wrong. Top 3 worst trader of all time. Do consumer prices usually outpace those of producers? I would say more than not so, yes, Joshua. But again, it's not definitive. It varies for sure. Did the chance of a June rate cut change again today like it did yesterday? Well, yeah, yesterday it moved to September. So yet now the likelihood of a rate cut before September is very low. If we look at this now, in terms of Fed decisions, yeah, September, 45% of people expect a cut. July, it's almost 50-50, but 42% of people expect a cut. 49% of people expect another pause, which I think is the right move. I think we should wait until at least September. All right, guys, SPY moving up. SPY is ripping up a little bit here, chat. Catching back up in the chat. It's moving quickly. Yeah, I mean, Falcon, I think if you're going to call people dumb or criticize people's decision making, I think if they don't know how to spell, it just looks hypocritical, I guess is the point, But again, it's all good, man. I'm just kind of everything is possible in this casino. Mark Douglas was a gangster, man. He really was. Rest in peace to the man. Really ahead of his time, too. I'm not a big trading book guy. You get some people that love trading books. I don't think reading a book and learning trading is a good move. I think if you're gonna learn trading, watch videos, watch price action, watch charts. Don't look at books. Books are not going to teach you very much. No offense. But again, with the exception of trading psychology, and Mark Douglas is the book to look at. Trading in the Zone is the book to look at in that, in that way. No, it's only futures, Zane. Hey, thank you, Jens. Appreciate it. Book with picture book. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah, again, look at Nvidia though. Nvidia has been one of the big pushers of tech, and now it's coming all the way back down. So just be careful, y'all. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of a glass house scenario. Yeah. Just found you today. You seem like a beauty and level-headed. I hope you don't let me down. Subscribed. Hey, thank you, Nail. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, Nvidia spelling on much lower volume than it pumped, or selling on much lower volume. Yeah, I mean, Nvidia coming back down. I don't know. Well, again, let's watch the previous closing price. Let's watch the previous closing price, 200 EMA, volume weighted average price level, which is kind of pulling back to now. It could bounce. We'll see. It's trying to hold its green on the day, so it might be a bounce spot. Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, Falcon, so you're talking about intelligence and all this stuff. I don't think something intelligent traders do is go from room to room criticizing other traders, right? I think that's something that people that lose money do, and they're kind of like misery loves company, so they just kind of go from room to room attacking everybody else, looking for validation. I mean, we don't really need to take it there. Like, it's all good. I have to scroll back to see what you said, but yeah, I don't think that's necessarily like a profitable trader's MO. You know what I mean? Rate cut in July still under 50%. Yeah, I don't think we should cut rate. Again, as of yesterday, inflation data came in pretty high. PPI data did come in low. I don't think it compensates for the high CPI though. At the same time, like, CPI wasn't crazy bad. Traders that don't really understand kind of look at 2.5 to 3.5% inflation as like it's some end of the world scenario, and it's not. Like 2% is the target, yes, but 2.8% PCE data is not bad. Like, that's pretty good inflation rate. Even 3.5% is not the end of the world, especially relative to like 9%, which is what we were almost at a few years ago. And so even if we're not at exactly 2%, it doesn't mean inflation's bad. And I think if we look at CPI, most of CPI was flat month to month, with the exception of the year-over-year report, which is not even month to month. It's comparing it to the same period last year, right? So it really depends on the lens you look at CPI under. I guess the point is CPI wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible either. And PPI was pretty good, right? So the market's rebounding. Look at, again, we talked about Nvidia potentially bouncing at the previous closing price. Look at that bounce. Again, we could say it's random, but again, I talked about the same thing with both the SPY and NVIDIA. Bounces right at the previous closing price, bounces at the 200 EMA, very probable. And again, you get the 200 EMA and the volume and the previous close right around the same spot, and you can see NVIDIA bounce directly off of it, which does in turn drag the NASDAQ 100 up with it. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but we called those bounces. Yeah, speaking of Falcon, John's dad is a Falconer. He is, you know. Again, check young John out. Young. I don't know how old I was in this picture, but young John, you know. A lot of people say I look like my dad now. I guess I do. This is my dad. That's me. This is a Harris Hawk, is what this is. I said red tail hawk. It's actually a Harris Hawk now that I look at it. Anyways, we're testing these highs up there. Young John. A lot of people here probably don't even remember. I might be old. You know. Young John. You're 100% your dad's son. Yeah, for sure. Definitely top 3. They're not two-tone jeans. They are I can't remember the name of it. They're hunting pants, right? So they the bottom half is like the bottom half of the jeans is I can't remember the name of them, but they're hunting jeans is what they are. Yeah, we'll see if we hold. We're kind of moving sideways. NVIDIA bounced at the previous close. The SPY bounced at the previous close as well. $66% more inflation. I mean, again, it's really easy to phrase. It's really easy to phrase percentages and make them sound worse than they are. Like, all you have to do is isolate one point in time and then use that as your argument, right? Like, I could do the other side. I could give you the same argument for the decrease that we've had. So decreasing from 9 to 3.5% is a 61% decrease in inflation, chat. So inflation has decreased 61% since 2021, guys. What a great progress on inflation, right? Like, again, anybody could take inflation out of context and argue it. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Again, you know how many people have come here and said the world was going to end, the sky's falling, market's going to crash now, you know, in the last 4 years. It's happened over and over again. Again, it happened the most in this period right here. So when the market was right here and I started buying stuff up, people got weird, told me I was dumb, told me the market was about to crash. SPY ended up ripping up 24% last year. 24%. You know, who do you think missed out on those moves? The bearish traders, you know. And so, hey, I'm not saying you should never be bearish. I don't think you should always be bearish. I think the biggest edge is long-term upside moves. And so if you're always betting, if you're betting long-term, like years to the short side, you're taking one of the biggest sucker bets you could ever take in the markets, to be honest. Because again, long-term markets are going to move up. You know, betting against that's dumb. You know, even if you are right, it's such a huge risk. It's just not worth it. You know, but again, you got a lot of people who want to be Michael Burry. A lot of people watch Margin Call, The Big Short. They want to be contrarians, and I get it, but it's important to just understand. Universally in markets, you always have bearish traders pushing bearish stuff. Most of the time they're wrong. You know, I'm not saying they're always wrong, but just most of the time they're wrong. Best call of ever. Top 3 calls for sure. Looks like a flag in the NASDAQ, but we're up a little bit too close to highs for me to really want to get involved. It does look like a flag, though. You know, if you want to know why they call it a flag, that's why. So flag pattern here. We'll see if it holds, but... All right, so we should have broken 134K. And we did. We're up to almost 134,500. So help us get to 135K, chat. We appreciate the love. Thanks so much. Yeah, we got some Fed speakers this afternoon. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of rich dad, poor dad guy. I think he can be wrong in a lot of ways. You know. Like, I get letting taxes work for you and everything like that, but I think there's risks to being too weird with taxes, and you know, I would rather overpay taxes. Like, I probably I probably overpay taxes. Sorry, acid reflux. And I would rather do that than worry about, you know. But I do think learning tax structure is good. I don't know. I think there's just a lot of bad advice, not necessarily from Robert or whatever, but I think people have to understand this, right? Like, it's really pleasant. Like, you get Dave Ramsey being like this a lot, right? Where it's really pleasant to think about, hey guys, if you just save your money and invest, you're going to be set when you're 65. You know, I would rather live good before I'm 65 personally. And I think in order to do that, you have to take risks. I think this is one of the biggest ways Dave Ramsey gets it wrong. Because it's really easy if you're 65 to say, hey guys, just save up your money and live well when you're 65, or invest and live well when you're 65. The problem is that I want to live good when I'm young. I don't care. Like, when I'm 65, my life, no offense, is on its last quarter. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather live good now. And I think in order to live good now, you have to take risks. And I think the way you do that is starting businesses. Like, you start businesses when you're young. You take the risks when you're the most resilient to failure. And I think it's important to take risks when you're young, because again, you can, like, it's really easy to take stock gains as an example, where you're earning, you know, 5 to 10% a year, and with compounding you can make a lot of money over time, right? But the difference is, like, really it's keeping up with inflation. You might make more than inflation increases, but it's keeping up with inflation, and things are going to be much more expensive when you're 65 as well. So saving up, you know, 500K for when you're 65, while I get it, the problem is that things are going to be noticeably more expensive then as well, with inflation problems. So, you know, it's I think if you want to live good, you got to take risks. And I think that is something that's very clear. And again, you can live good off of compounding, and that's great. But I think if you really want to live good when you're young, which is what most people do, of course, you got to take risks. You can't just save and say, oh, well, I'm going to live good when I'm 65. That's cool. And again, if you're 55 or 60, that, of course, that sounds great. But I think a lot of people want to live good when they're young. And I think to do that, you got to take risks. Yeah, we got 20 minutes chat until market opens. Invest so you can walk around with a golden cane. Exactly, right? Like, yeah, hey, I mean, listen, you see a lot of people in Ferraris that are just old men, and I get it. Listen, if I'm old, I want to rock a Ferrari, but, like, I also want to live good when I'm young, and I think you got to do that to take risks. And I think the businesses that I've started that have been successful, I had to take risks to get them. You know, this YouTube channel, I had to take risks, but yeah. It's even worse if they say, hey, just save, guys. Just save your money. Like, okay, cool. You're saving your money. You're losing it to inflation over time. You know, like, if you know, the other side of that is, like, listen, if you sit on cash, you're going to lose money as well. Or you're going to lose even more money if you sit on cash. And so, again, look at the market breaking highs. Market's ripping up. SPY's trying up here, too. SPY's over highs at 515. It's almost a complete rebound from CPI data. So I'm glad I bought some stuff up yesterday, because those are doing really well. That's great. But again, the other side of that is, like, you also want to diversify and hedge against inflation long term, and you do that through investing. You know, you can invest in the S&P, and it's going to, for the most part, keep up with inflation long term. Although there are more risks. You can invest in bonds, and there's less risk. So there's, you know, There's less, it's guaranteed yield, but it's going to perform less. Like you're going to make about 4.5% instead of roughly 8 to 10% a year in bonds. But again, it's going to, for the most part, keep up with inflation to a certain extent. You can invest in gold. In the short term, it's volatile, but long term, it should keep up with inflation. You can invest in real estate. And again, short term, it's volatile, but long term, it can keep up with inflation. And so if you don't put your money to work in those different areas, you're going to lose money over time. You know, 100K today is going to be worth a lot more than 100K in 15 years. And so if you don't hedge against that inflation with investments, you're going to lose money over time. It's something that's really important. You're the first person out here saying this, but it's so real. I mean, it's the truth. You got to take risks. Again, I'm not, listen, with that said, I am not recommending, look at the SPY rip up here, almost to 516s. Look at the NASDAQ rip up as well. So interesting here for sure. We got that level up there. Listen, I'm not telling you to YOLO a day trading account and try to make 5% a day because that's dumb. You're just going to lose your account eventually. You might make some money at first, but eventually you're going to lose it doing that. So I'm not telling you should just kind of quit your job, take a loan out, and try to day trade with it. What I'm saying is that you should start businesses, right? Start businesses, take risks. If you fail, learn a little bit from it at least, and then try again. You know, 6 businesses fail before 1 succeeds. And so if you give up after your first or second failure, you're giving up when you have the most highly probable success, right? So again, keep trying until you fail, I guess, or keep trying even though you fail, and try to start businesses. You know, easiest way to do it is monetize what you're passionate about. Figure out what you really like doing, monetize that somehow. You know, that's what I did with this YouTube channel. Yeah, for sure, Brian. You know, experiences are the best thing to spend money on, for sure. All right, so Intel at 37. So we bought Intel this morning, too. Are we expecting a drop or rise? I mean, I'm not expecting anything. I'm just going to try to react to what we get. We got 15 minutes until the market opens. So I'm not really expecting anything, you know, crazy. I'm going to react to what we get. This person says, I'm 28. I don't wake up at 5 a.m. and still make 30K a month. Here's a realistic routine that won't kill you. Honestly, the surprising thing, though, like when you start making money like this, one of the most surprising things is like it's all relative to what you expect in your mind, right? Like I've talked about this before, but it's so crazy to me if I really try to put things into perspective, how your mindset truly does change, right? I heard somebody describe it on social media, and it's like you think $2,000 a month is good until you meet somebody making 10, right? You think $10,000 a month is good until you see somebody making 30. You think $30,000 a month is good until you see somebody making $300,000 a month. You think that's good until you meet somebody that makes $3 million. You know, and again, you can extrapolate that as much as y'all want, but the point remains, your perspective changes, right? And for me, I'm not making $3 million a month or anything like that. I'm not making anywhere near that. I wish I was, but I'm not. But your mindset certainly changes, right? And so you get to 30K, it's not as much as you might think. I mean, it's a lot, but it's not as much as you might. It doesn't feel like as much as it could or it should in your head. So I guess the point is your mindset changes as you make more. Hey, thank you, John. I appreciate the donation, brother. Thanks so much, man. Again, when I started this YouTube channel, I said, hey, if I make $500 a month, freaking game changer. Then you make that. Then I make $2,000 a month. If I can make 5K a month, freaking game changer, then you make that. Then you make 10K a month. You say, oh, 10K a month, game changer. Then you make that. And it just kind of, your perspective changes, man. I don't make 300K a month. I wish I did. That's a lot. Yeah, I don't really spend much. I don't really buy anything for myself, right? I'm not a big spender. I don't believe in wasting money like that. I think you got to enjoy life, though. But, I don't really, you know, with a couple exceptions. I'm not going to talk about how much I make, with excluding what I just said. I'm not going to be specific, though. Yeah, it doesn't really. I mean, yeah. Thank you again, John, for the donation. I appreciate it. I guess the point is like it doesn't. What money doesn't really equal happiness because it depends on your situation. You know, like I'm very happy. I live a very blessed life. I love my family. I love my kids. I love my wife. Like very fulfilling life. I get to sit here and talk about stocks for a few hours every day. It's great, right? It's one of the reasons we get so many haters is because you know they hate us because they're not us. You know, but top 3 best people ever of all time. But I don't know. They say money doesn't equal happiness, but it certainly helps. You know, it certainly makes life. Stress equals unhappiness, right? So it depends on how stressed you are. And money definitely helps ease stress, but it also can make more stress. Depends on your situation, though. Haters is a sign of success. Yeah, I got the top 3 most haters in the world right now. I talk about haters top 3 most in the world for sure. Tesla pulling back a little bit. Tesla great on the day though at 172s right now. We took a little bit off of Tesla. Tesla has earnings this month, so remember earnings season kind of starts tomorrow. We have Tesla earnings this month and a bunch of other. We've got Meta, we've got Apple earnings. So my net worth is not even 300K and I'm 30 something. Yeah, I mean, listen, if your net worth is 20K in your 30s, you're doing better than 95% of the world. John's YouTube channel is worth about 2 mil. It's probably about right. I mean, give or take. I mean, it depends on how you value it. That's probably about right. I would say something around there. Do you recommend people pay off their credit cards before investing in stocks? Yes. I mean, I don't recommend anything. Ask your CPA guy. I don't know. Not an investment professional. I'm not liable. If you lose, don't sue me. But I would personally pay off my credit cards before investing. Sure. Yeah, I mean, we get about like 300,000 to 500,000 views a month, and so you know, anytime you get, I'm not saying that's a ridiculously huge YouTube channel, but anytime you get that many viewers, it's easy to monetize. You know. Nvidia is still at over 875s here, chat. Over 875s. See if it holds there. I'm watching it closely. Market opens at 11 minutes, chat. Yeah, I mean, you can dispute a lot of debt really easily. You just got to send the credit bureaus dispute letters. You got to make sure it's actually, like, if it's very recent, it's very unlikely they're going to remove it, and instead they're going to, you know, then it's going to be verified, right? So you want to make sure it's long enough to where you could potentially get it removed, you know. I can't remember if disputing it, if it's validated after you try to dispute it, if it resets the 7-year period. Because if it resets the 7-year period, then you got to wait another 7 years. So sometimes it's not always the right move to dispute things that are about to expire anyway. But okay, so it doesn't reset it, so that's good. I think some people should go to college. It's just not everybody. I think the standard of college has changed over the last 30 years, where now everybody wants their kids to go to college and do well and go to school, right? But a lot of people shouldn't. Communications degree, journalism degree, stuff like that is just a waste of time. It depends on what degree. Like, if you're gonna go to college, get a STEM degree at least. Like, get a not mathematics, but get like engineering, doctor, whatever you want to do. Get something that actually is useful. Don't just go to school to say you went to school, because especially with how expensive school is nowadays, you just got to make sure it's justifiable. You don't want to go to school, you don't want to spend half a decade in school and hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a degree that you're not going to get paid much more. So you got to make sure it's worth it. Don't go, if you're going to get a business degree, don't just get a bachelor's, get your MBA. If you're gonna get a degree, journalism, useless. It doesn't matter what college you went to if you want to become a writer or a journalist. What matters is your skill set there. If you can write or if you can speak publicly very well, your college means less. But I don't know. It's subjective. And it depends on what your passion is. If your passion is painting, don't go to school for painting. I mean, I don't know, maybe you can, but don't go to college for it. If your passion is business or entrepreneur, then do that, It really is, it depends. There's a lot of right and wrong ways to do it, I guess. I'm not claiming to know what's best by any means. Yeah. Although lawyers, I think, are in trouble, Bailey. I think lawyers genuinely in trouble. If you've seen how good AI is, it's scary, scary good. You could say, hey, AI, write me a contract that stipulates this, 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 and this. Make it legal in Texas. Make it legal in Louisiana. Make it valid in Texas, valid in Louisiana, valid in wherever. You can have it write whomever's name on there. And it'll produce a contract that's valid, that works, that is genuinely valid. Right, a lot of the time, not always. I'm sure there's outliers, but AI can replace a lot of what lawyers do, really, like genuinely. So I still think we're always going to need lawyers, but I think you got to get into the right sector of law, First job eliminated by AI, not necessarily, not geographical or engineers. You're talking about specifically electrical engineers, and again, it depends. Like, it's not. Yeah, you're still gonna need engineers even with AI. Now, certain sectors of engineering might go away, but you're always gonna need certain engineers. Well, the biggest people who are getting essentially replaced are photographers by AI. Like, photographers are getting wiped out. Like, really, digital designers. Like, I know a lot of people that are kind of frustrated, and a lot of times these type of people kind of lash out at others, but I know a lot of digital designers, logo creators, people who use Photoshop, all these different tools where they're essentially completely replaced. Their entire skill set is completely replaced by AI, right? Writers are very similar, right? With the exclusion of, like, creative writers. But technical writing almost completely replaced by AI. Digital designers with like Photoshop, graphic designers, social media designers and graphic designers on social media are getting completely replaced by AI. And that's one of those sectors of business that AI is wiping out, because again, you simply just do not need them anymore. You don't need to pay somebody to create a logo. AI will do it for you, and it'll do it faster and cheaper. You don't need somebody to give you good headshots for real estate. AI will do it. It'll be better, easier for everybody, and cheaper. You don't need somebody to create social media marketing stuff, because AI will do it faster and cheaper. So those are sectors of business that genuinely are getting replaced fast too. You know, AI is getting better and better. Nvidia looking forward. Earnings are in May next month. I'm watching $900 and 850s for Nvidia. I think those are two milestone whole dollar levels that are relevant. So yeah, I'm watching those two levels to see. Nvidia kind of has a double top though up here around 880. It's not quite a double top, but it's close to one. And I think Nvidia is influencing the market a lot, so we're watching it, of course. But music and movies, well, editors are going to get replaced, but I think it depends on how creative. It depends on how creative intensive it is, like how much you need creativity. You know, how much creative aspects of it are there. You know, the more creative you have to be, the less you're going to be able to use AI for it. But I think like there's a lot of ifs about that sector that we'll just have to wait and see. Accounting is a good career. CPAs are in demand. I think they're going to get replaced by AI too, to be honest. I think they're really going to get replaced by AI as well. Coding depends. Like coding, parts of coding are getting replaced by AI, but you're always going to need people that, you're still going to need programmers, but it's going to be in a different way, you know. And this is coming from somebody that I know how to code. I React Native, JavaScript stuff mostly. I know Python as well. But Intel spike it up a little bit more. We'll see if it holds. We got a minute left, chat. A minute left. John's a tech bro. LFG. Top 3 tech bros in the world. All jobs will be automated. No, not all. All is too broad, you know. You're going to tell me a used car salesman is going to be automated, you know. I don't think so. Some of his paperwork might. And if people buy online, they might be automated. But, like, you're still going to need people there to sell walk-ins, you know. And you're always going to have walk-ins, too, despite how good digital stuff is. Yeah, dentists. Yeah. Bro, I don't want a machine working on my mouth, bro. Carol's a good wife, but sometimes she's got to go to the dentist with me. Same thing with, like, personal trainers. Carol's top 3 wives in the world right now. One of my top 3 wives in the world. All right, guys, there's the opening bell. Ding, ding, ding. Market is open. NASDAQ is pulling back a little bit at the opening bell. Watch NVIDIA here closely. NVIDIA pulling back to that 200 EMA volume weighted average price level and the previous closing prices right there. And we're bouncing directly off of the 200 EMA. We'll see if we hold. We are seeing some corrections back down, though, now that we opened. So we are seeing some pullbacks here. Consolidating. We'll see what the market looks like. Again, we do have bank earnings tomorrow. All right, NVIDIA trying to hold. I'm going to let things play out. We're 1 minute into the opening bell. This looks like we're going to bounce, but it depends on what Intel does here, or NVIDIA does right here. But it looks like we're bouncing. Tesla just broke highs again. Google's still up a lot, too. Hey, nice. looks like we didn't bounce. Again, we're going to let the first couple minutes play out first. We've already built up a cushion. What's up, Manny? All right, big retracement back down a little bit. Very similar to CPI yesterday where we dipped big and then we bounced back. I'm watching NVIDIA closely here. It's at the previous closing price. I wanted to buy it, but maybe I should have jumped on it. Intel testing highs again, though. That looks nice. All right, I'm going to buy this. One contract here. Keep it small at the open. We'll add to it if we get a good move in our favor. There we go. Yeah, we don't need to. We just scalped about a $20 gain from this. One contract, nice. So low commission there, so that's good. We're watching NVIDIA closely though. NVIDIA at 870s. SPY dipped a little bit at the open. We did get another pop back up. Where's Apple at? There's Google testing highs. Apple going green on the day too. So we retrace the opening redness and now we're about to run into this support or resistance levels. Watch NVIDIA though, and bouncing right at the same level we've been talking about all morning. The previous close, 200 EMA, volume weighted average price. I wanted to buy that dip, but maybe I should have. Google still up. Looks good. NVIDIA at 870s. Right at that 200 EMA level. I'll buy this, I guess, but it's risky. I'll try to add to it a little bit more. Scale in. There we go. Add a little bit more. 3 contracts. All right, we took half off. We got 1 contract left. Beautiful. All right, we took that off as well. Doing pretty good today. I don't know why my P&L says I'm down though, but I'm green on the day. I'm looking at my account, my actual account balance, and we're green. Why don't you trade gold as well? I like trading the NASDAQ. Look at NVIDIA run. Again, it bounced at all those major milestone levels that we look at and then continued up. Let's take 1 contract here. Try to let this be a little bit longer term play as well. We got 1 contract. See if we get a nice little rise from this. There we go. There we go. Should I add to it? I mean, we're up so much so quickly. I'm just going to take it off and scalp that, to be honest. All right, look at NVIDIA, guys. NVIDIA almost up to 885s. Rebounding back up. SPY's a little underwhelming, but still working. Google up a lot as well. Again, we bought Nike a couple days ago, and it's treating me really nice, too. All right, so now we're doing a big dip back down. I'm gonna buy this dip. One contract. We're keeping it pretty small today. Want to see if Nvidia rips up. We're gonna take profit, man. Again, we've been very accurate today since the opening bell, catching a lot of these moves really well. Top 3 kind of performance, yeah, for sure, definitely top 3, top 2.5, in my opinion. You know. All right, so I don't want to ruin my day. We've made so much today. I want to buy this dip. I think Nvidia could bounce at 880s. All right, we'll take it. One contract, though. We've been trading very small because we're already up a lot. I don't want to give too much back. It's a little bit more volatile from PPI as well. But, let's see if Nvidia bounces here like we thought it might. Again, I might be wrong. Do not copy me. We're trading on Apex funded account program. This is a 50K funded account on Apex. We have a 90% split on this account. And we're out. We didn't quite catch the whole thing, but we got out before it dipped. Couple hundred, it looks like, is what I made. I'm up a couple hundred on the day. And again, we're trading an Apex account, right? So again, they give you a demo. They test your skill. If you could pass the test, they fund you. If you don't pass the test, again, to get funded on this account, I had to make 3K in profit without losing 2,500 first, right? And following their rules. They gave me a 50K demo to do it. I passed the test. Now I have 50K in funding, 90% split, and I am green on my funded account. We're kind of building up profits, getting ready for a withdrawal, to be honest. And again, Apex, great way to learn day trading, limited risk. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. And again, I always tell people the same thing. Like, listen, most day traders lose. I think most day traders are going to lose here too, because it doesn't matter where they trade. Day traders just lose, right? At the same time, it's a lot cheaper risk-wise to try a funded account program like Apex and lose than it is to put up $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, $25,000 if you're trying to get around the PDT rule and lose there, right? Most day traders lose. You think you might be outliers, but you're probably not. You're still probably going to lose. It's just a lot cheaper to lose on Apex, but you still can if you're good enough to make money, which is, again, not most people, but if you're good enough to make money, once you're funded, there's a 90% split. You get to keep your first 25K in profit. Great way to learn how to day trade, and they have accounts where if you lose, you're only out 30, 35 bucks for the base one. I think for the 50K combine, I'm trying to see how much I paid for it. I'm pretty sure I got it for 80% off, which right now they're 80% off, right? I'm pretty sure I paid, it is normally 167. I'm pretty sure I got it for 33 bucks. Oh, so it's 33 bucks. 33 bucks for the base one, you know. For the 50K one, the 25K one is 29 bucks, right? So again, we're paying 30, 35 bucks. Depending on if it's the 25K 31. They have 300K one as well, right? But again, if you lose, it's not the end of the world. But if you pass it, 90% split once you're funded. Just a good way to learn day trading. And again, you can kind of see me. I'm watching Nvidia. I'm watching the SPY. I'm using these to judge. This is the QQQ price action is what I'm day trading. But I can also day trade the SPY price action in the E-mini. I can day trade gold. And so again, if you want to check them out, here's the link. They are a sponsor. I'm biased. They pay me money, you know, so I'm definitely biased in their favor. But if you want to help your boy out, you know, use promo code BT, beginner trading BT. Brief analysis of PPI. PPI came in lower than expected universally. And except for core year over year, I believe came in higher than expected. But PPI mostly came in lower than expected, caused bullish action in markets. And since then, markets have mostly been sideways and flat. All right, so we are getting the bounce right at the VWAP and Nvidia. We did get a bounce on the SPY. You can see how well, look, 3 levels is all you need, chat. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to make money trading these 3 levels, but 3 levels are really all you freaking need, in my opinion, right? You need the previous closing price, the 200 EMA, which is the yellow line, and the volume weighted average price, which is the purple line. You watch those three levels, highly influential, highly influential. Let me give you my argument for them. Again, let me just put up one chart. We'll put up NVIDIA and the SPY, okay? Look at how well, so look, especially if they can coincide to the same spot. Look at the previous closing price in the 200 EMA, exactly off of the same level. When we pull back, we bounce directly off of it. Why? Because you got some traders watching the previous close. You got some traders watching the 200 EMA. And so if they're all buying, expecting a bounce, what do you get? You get a bounce, right? It's not going to work every time, but a great way to look at levels, in my opinion. You put up NVIDIA, it's the same thing, right? You look at NVIDIA. Where do we bounce on NVIDIA, chat? We bounce off of three levels. We bounce off the 200 EMA, the previous closing price. We bounce directly off of those levels again. And then where do we bounce here? Volume weighted average price. You know, you look at these three milestone levels, they're my favorite levels at least. I can't guarantee you're going to make money, but I think it makes sense. You know, three levels. Was Nike upgraded? Good. I'm in Nike right now. I hope it continues. Tesla testing that previous closing price level. Now, it already bounced directly off of it. It might not work, though. It already bounced directly off of it once, and now it's retesting it. So retests are where the risk is, in my opinion, where if we test one of those levels and then come back to retest it, that's where the risk is. So just be careful. I'm not saying Tesla's going to hold there. I think Tesla could start breaking and come down, but we could also bounce. I don't know. Yeah, I got a 4-to-1 win-loss ratio. I'm not sure why it says I lost. It's really weird. Yeah, it says I lost. Yeah, we're green for sure on this account today. Hey, sorry, Sam, if I missed your parting words of wisdom. Sorry, brother. See you, Sam. Is there anything else coming down the pipes for data Fed commentary? Tomorrow or next week is actually really slow. So we don't have much going on next week. I think we have like maybe retail sales on Monday, and then outside of retail sales, I think we have nothing except for jobless claims. So I think Monday we got retail sales. I'm checking now. I don't think we have anything big though. Yeah, retail sales Monday, New York Empire State Manufacturing Index Monday. So retail sales Monday. Earnings next week are actually pretty big. So we do have some earnings next week. Building permits and housing starts, as well as Canadian CPI Tuesday. But it's not a really big report, to be honest. It's a pretty boring, less impactful report. Wednesday, nothing. And outside of earnings, right? Thursday, we get jobless claims, Philly Fed Index on Thursday. So Thursday might be fun. Existing home sales at 10 a.m. on Thursday as well. Friday, we get nothing as well. So again, next week's pretty slow outside of earnings. We've got retail sales. We've got retail sales, the Philly Fed Index. We've got building permits, housing starts, stuff like that. But outside of those things, nothing. Outside of those things in earnings, we get nothing. I mean, let me check what earnings we have next week. Next Monday, we got Goldman Sachs, Schwab, M&T Bank, Guarantee Bank. We've got, let me see. We got Bank of America on Tuesday, Johnson & Johnson, Morgan Stanley. So bank earnings Tuesday as well. Tuesday evening, we get like United Airlines and IB. Wednesday morning, a bunch of small companies that are insignificant. I don't think we have any big earnings next week, though, outside of some banks. We got Netflix as the biggest earnings report next week on Thursday. We don't really stream that one, though, because Netflix doesn't actually do a live earnings call. They instead do like a pre-recorded earnings video. So, I'm not a big fan of covering Netflix earnings. But Friday, we got Amex, P&G, a couple other ones. Microsoft earnings. I don't know when they're coming out, though. Let me check. I know they started to schedule it. I was just hoping that this time we don't, like last quarter, they all came out same day, and I hated it, man. Like we had Apple, Amazon, and Google earnings all the same day, and I'm begging them not to do it this year. So this year we got Tesla earnings on the 23rd, Boeing earnings on the 24th, AT&T on the 24th, Meta on the 24th after the close. Meta and IBM, that is. 25th, Intel, Snapchat. So that'll be big day. Friday, Exxon, a couple other ones. I'm looking for Amazon. I'm waiting for Amazon to actually schedule their report. And they haven't yet, unfortunately. I don't know why. I'm hoping it's not. Actually, I won't mind if Amazon does theirs on the 25th. Outside of that, we get SoFi. Market's so flat right now. You can see the NASDAQ. So we're just kind of sideways. Yeah, I'm looking at the end of the month. Looking at the beginning of May. Apple is going to be May 2nd. So that's nice. Rivian is going to be on May 7th. And again, we told you guys we didn't think Tesla was going to hold at the previous closing price, 200 EMA. It was a retest, so I trusted less. Bars. Apple up to 168s. Do the young people say bars now? I think they do, right? Again, I talked about it earlier. It used to be mixtape coming soon, but now they say bars. I trolled my daughter by using the most young slang I could ever think of. My daughter, non-sarcastically, uses the slang bus, right? Let me use it in some. Let me give you an example of it. Google's chart today is bus, non-sarcastically, and yes, I criticize her for that. When's Microsoft? I haven't actually seen Microsoft. I don't think Microsoft has actually scheduled their earnings yet. I don't think. Let me see. Yeah, so I don't think Microsoft has scheduled their earnings. I hope they don't come out the 23rd because that's the same day as Tesla, and so they're competing with other big earnings that day. I want them to do it a different freaking day, man. I just hope they don't. Same thing with Microsoft, Google. I hope they don't all come out freaking the 23rd. That would be horrible. Please don't tell me they're doing the 23rd. Yeah, so now I'm looking at Google and Microsoft and Tesla are supposed to report on the 23rd. Now a lot of them aren't confirmed. I'm really hoping they don't all do them same day. That'll be not good. Google's chart is bussin'. Yeah, that's where it's derived from. I can't take her seriously if she uses it. Yeah, the whole slang bussin' actually originated from my generation, right? Like, this is what I tell her, okay? It originated from my generation. So did low-key. Low-key originated from my generation as well. Like, the original slang was something like busting out the roof or something like that. Like, man, you know, it's busting out the roof, right? Like, that was the original slang. Eventually, that's what it was derived from. Eventually now it's been shortened to bussin' or just bus, right? Same thing with low-key. Like, low-key was originally slang for my generations, and really probably the generations before me as well, to where it was like, hey, we're gonna keep this low key, you know. Now it's used, that is low key good, low key bad, low key cool, low key fun, whatever. It's like, and so my point is, young people think they're different, they're not, you know. Yeah, the 90s are definitely back in. Freaking neon, mullets. Mullets, I think, started in baseball, though. Again, market's so flat. Look at the NASDAQ. It's got such a sideways range. Mullets originated in baseball, but somehow they're cool again. I don't understand it. Robinhood shows Microsoft scheduled for 423. It's not confirmed yet, though. I just hope it's not. Again, man, I don't want Tesla, Microsoft. You shouldn't want it either. I don't want Tesla, Microsoft, and Google to report earnings all the same day. I would rather them diversify the days and let me cover all of them instead of putting them all out the same freaking day. You know, Apple breaking highs right now. Speaking of Apple. Nah, they're wearing baggy jeans, Cal. You're just not up. Bro, they're wearing baggy jeans for sure. Like, I saw somebody walking down the street, like a young person walking down the street. They looked like me in the 90s. They looked like they had Jinkos on and a bowl cut. You know, they even had a freaking wallet chain. Like, they looked exactly like we dressed in the 90s. Exactly like we dressed in the 90s, you know. Neon's cool. They got these weird necklaces now. The style, like the hoodie style is the same too. They've got all these like Thrasher-esque styles on right now. It's exactly how people dress in the 90s, you know. Hey, thanks, Philip. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you, man. He said, thank you, John, listening from Sydney. About the 10th time I've joined. Really appreciate your manner and knowledge. A lot of interesting stuff. Thanks. Hey, all good, man. Appreciate the support. Yeah, it's cyclical for sure. Stranger Things brought it back. Hey. Yeah, this stream is low-key bussing, you know. It's a vibe in here for sure, you know. All right. Yeah, CPI came in. No, I would say PPI came in bussing. PPI came in. What's the bad slang? What's the bad slang for nowadays? What is it? PPI came in low-key bad, you know? Or no, low-key. Low-key bad might be good in today's slang. Man, it gets confusing real quick. CPI came in low-key down. Or no, low-key high. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting confused even trying over here. I'm too old, man. Get off my lawn, okay? Google, pulling back to the volume-weighted average price. Yeah, PPI is mid. There you go. That's it. PPI is mid. You know, CPI was mid. PPI was bussing. You know, bus. Singular. You know. No cap. If my daughter was in here, she would hate me right now. I do this to her all the time, though. I troll her using the slang of young people nowadays. No cap. You know. Yeah, no, mid definitely comes from cannabis. It's a shortened version of mid-grade. I actually explained that to my daughter, funny enough, just to show her that her slang is not new, you know. All right, guys. Nike trying to bounce back up. Google pulling back. It's at 159s. Tesla at 170 50s. Apple at 169s. So the market's trying here. Again, I've kind of stopped trading. The market's too flat to really take any trades. I'm up hundreds on the day now, so I think I'm just going to try to sit on my gains for now and wait. Yeah. Cringe. Yeah, dude. Listen, dads are cringe. That's what you got to do. You got to, if you're not embarrassing your kid, I mean, what are you doing in life, you know? Not within reason, you know, within reason. This market is mid, for real, for real. Yeah, I mean, definitely not bussing in here, no cap. All right, guys. Hey, Google at 150s. Or no, 159s. Let's see if Google can continue. Google's been incredibly strong after the recent chip news that came out a couple days ago. Google's been ripping up. You love to see it. I'm in Google right now. All right, I'm going to stop. I can't use these slang terms anymore. I feel, even though obviously I'm being sarcastic, I genuinely feel old using these slang terms, you know? Tesla all the way down at 170s. 170, a nice whole dollar, you know, potential milestone spot. Also have some support built out around 170 on Tesla as well. We'll see if that level holds. I'm in my 30s. Your vocabulary is fire, bro. Fire is actually from my generation as well. You know. Maybe a little bit older generations, if I'm being honest, but I'm gonna go ahead and take credit for that in my generation, you know. Yeah, we're just not picking a direction, unfortunately. Nvidia's starting to rip up, though, so this might be more optimistic for the NASDAQ and the broad markets because, again, Nvidia is starting to rip up. It's at 880s. Yeah, dude, I mean, listen, I did take credit for the S&P 500, you know? I mean, that was me, you know, right here. You don't know? Top 3 for sure. Yeah, gotta put some respect on the generation. I know, man. Listen, I'm trying to help over here. Yeah, for sure. Listen, I did it with the S&P. Hey, thank you, Gabe. Appreciate it, man. What's Bitcoin at right now? Is it flat? Slightly green. Apple at 169s. We'll see if it holds up there. Testing the top of this range on the NASDAQ. I'm not sure if we're going to move past it, though, but... Yeah, I was there when they invented the S&P, you know. I used to walk 5 miles to school in the snow, okay? These young generations, they just don't know, you know. They don't know how easy they've got it. All right, so we're rejecting at the top of the range, continuing the choppy action here. English US, English UK, or English Gen Z. See, I'm from the South, though, so our English is a little bit different than everybody else's English as well. I'm from Louisiana originally, and so we say things that a lot of people are not going to understand if you're not from the South as well. Like, I'm fixing to go to the store. I'm fixing to go to the store. Or, you know. Like, people from Louisiana specifically will say you know a lot. Like, I say you know a lot. It's like a filler word. Like, the S&P looks weak, you know. Google breaking lows, you know. So those are slangs that I'll use. I also say bruh and bro a lot. Again, another very Louisianian thing. Tesla did crack lows, broke under 170. It's still testing it now, so it could bounce back, but yeah, it's just it's shortened fixing. So a southern thing, Justin, is I'm fixing to go to the store real quick. Let me go. Hey, I'm fixing to grab that. I was fixing to eat that. You know, very very southern slang. It's shortened to that now. Canadian slang is like, "You guys going to the store, eh? You guys gonna go over to Billy's today, eh? You know? Let's go to Timmy's and get some coffees, eh?" You know, that's Canadians. I've got Canadian family, you know. Yeah, my stepdad's Canadian, so I've lived in Canada, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Batchewana. You know, I lived there for a long time. Different, great people, just really nice people. Beautiful country as well. I like Canada. Poutine's really good, also. When I originally met them and I said y'all a lot, they got really weird for me saying y'all. And we kind of got into it because I told them y'all is a contraction for you all. You can't throw an S on you and make it plural and then criticize me for saying y'all. You know, it's just hypocritical. Batchewana, Ontario is not north. It's right on the border of Michigan. You know, Sault Ste. Marie is actually a sister city to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. So there's Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, Ontario, Canada, and then there's Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. They're right on the border. So Batchewana is like, I want to say it's like 40 miles. I think it's northwest, 30 to 40 miles northwest of Sault Ste. Marie. I might be wrong, though. I'll have to look at a map. What do you call it when it's raining, but the sun is out? I don't know. Tesla about to crack 168s. Yeah, it's down to 169s now. It broke under 170s, and maybe that level also bounced yesterday prior to the close, and so we might reject off of that level now. For all I know, again, we're too choppy. This looks shortable to me because it looks like we might bounce up a little bit and then dump down, and then if this holds resistance, continue down. But of course, we could also just keep chopping away, and again, if we do keep chopping away, I'm probably going to close it down. I just don't see anything else that I like that much. Hey, nice coach. I'm from New York. People from New York are funny. They're nice people. I used to bartend, and so I had a guy. He would always call me Guy. He'd be like, "Hey, Guy, come here," you know. But he was super nice. He tipped me well. Super direct. I liked it because I'd rather somebody be direct, and even if it's a little short, just kind of tell me what they want me to do. In that way, it's clear instead of being like fake polite or nice about it and then really wanting something else and then getting weird if I don't do it. And so I like people from New York. Most of them. Some of them can get, you know, hostile, but yeah. Where's Tesla's next support? I really don't know. After under this level, I think 170 could hold as resistance, but I don't know. AMD's ripping up almost to 170s though, so that's good. Apple trying to pull back to the volume weighted average price. Let's see if it bounces. Choppy day. Bitcoin is not following the stock market. Do you know why? Because it's not the stock market. It's different. It's a different market, different movements, different sentiments, different correlations. I'm not sure. Bitcoin's at 70.6K. It probably has to do with news and, you know, buys and sells. 165. Yeah, I just don't see anything I like a lot. Also, check out my last. This will be the last plug we do today. So check out Chart Prime. Chart Prime trading view service you can use in stocks, crypto, forex, futures. I always try to backtest this live on stream. So I haven't checked it today, guys. And it might be sometimes on big days like today. It's hard to find consistency, even on some of these indicators. But again, check this out. So this is Chart Prime. It's a trading view service you can use in stocks, crypto, forex, futures. Look at the buy signal show up here. And then look at the beautiful bounce afterwards. So really nice there for Chart Prime. Let's keep back testing it. And again, it's not always going to work, but I think we just had so much choppiness that you got to kind of avoid it in some of the choppiness. Let's look at a 1 minute chart. Yeah, so this was not bad. Strong buy signal, beautiful bounce. Sell signal, we did get a dip. This one was wrong. This one we followed through a little bit. This one worked. This one was wrong. This one worked. This one worked. This one was wrong. This one worked. This one worked. So more work than they didn't work. Strong, strong. Let's look at a And it's not going to work on everything, right? Especially ahead of these reports, you got to find the right times to use them. Let's look at an hourly time frame. The hourly time frame is one of the more impressive ones, I think, too. Because look at the sell signal drops, buy signal, we got a little bounce, buy signal, we got a little bounce, sell signal, we got a drop. This one probably didn't work. Sell signal worked, this one 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 didn't work, this one didn't work, this one worked. Right? So again, you can see more work that didn't work. And again, this is like 40 bucks a month, so one good trade could pay for it. But like, check it out. Like, back test these if you go back in time. Buy signal, bounce, sell signal, drop. These are hourly candles as well. So these are longer term. Buy signal, days of green action, sell signal, drop. This one didn't work. We're going to back test this. This one followed through. 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 So again, only one of these didn't work. Only one of these didn't work. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1 out of 12 didn't work in this time period here. And so again, you got to find time frames where it does work. It's not always going to work. We could look at a 15-minute chart and see what's up on a 15-minute chart. So look at this. Strong sell signal, you got to follow through. Buy signal, you got to bounce. This one, you got to bounce. This one, you got to drop. This one, you got to bounce. I don't know if I like the 15-minute chart. Let's look at a 30-minute chart. It's all about finding time frames that work and attacking those time frames. You know, nothing's going to work all the time. Follow through, buy signal, bounce, buy signal, bounce. This one worked really nicely. Most of these worked. Sell signal, beautiful drops afterwards. Strong buy signal, beautiful follow through afterwards. So again, pretty impressive, I think. And again, this is like 40 bucks a month if you use my link. So a great way to help support the channel. Check out Chart Prime. Again, I can't guarantee anything works. They're a sponsor of mine, so of course I'm biased because they pay me money. But if you want to check them out, you can look at the link right there and get 40% off. These don't repaint, right? So these don't repaint. Let's look at something else besides the NASDAQ. Let's look at the SPY. Let's put I usually like a 5-minute chart. But again, nothing's going to work 100% of the time. So you really have to find time frames where it does work. And I think, watch, so here's a good one. So here's the SPY, right? Even since this choppiness actually happened. So here's a 5-minute chart on the SPY. Sell signal, dip, buy signal, bounce, sell signal, drop, buy signal, follow through, sell signal, dip. This one didn't work. This one you got some follow through as well. So literally 1 out of all the recent ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 out of 7 didn't work. So, you know, better than 85% accuracy here, it looks like. Again, I can't guarantee it's going to work. You can check out the link right there. It's 40% off. It's like 40 bucks a month. You can use it in stocks, crypto, forex futures. You just got to find markets where it's working. And it's not always going to work, of course, but genuinely impressive for me. Check them out. With that said, though, guys, we do have a green day. We are up hundreds on the day. So we are up hundreds. It's been a really good day for my trading. We'll see if we can keep it going tomorrow. Finish the week. Very, very strong week for my day trading. And again, we'll see if we finish the week. Equities. We are green in equities today. We are green in day trading futures today. And again, if you want to check out any of my sponsors, including Apex, which has an 80% off sale, you can get it for 80% off right now on Apex. One of the most legit funded programs in the world. You can check out the link in the description. I appreciate it. Y'all be safe. Y'all be good. We'll be back tomorrow. It happens about a candle later, Chalk. So it happens about a candle later, you know. So like basically the signal shows up about a candle later. So like an example would be if a signal would show up, if the signal showed up here, it would show up when this one was moving, right? So it's about a candle later. I think it's about a candle later. I'm pretty sure. You guys red or green today? Chat, red or green? Market's really flat. I'm not really liking this price action, so I'll probably just hang out and come back tomorrow. Again, remember, bank earnings tomorrow. Big bank earnings. So we got a lot of stuff dropping tomorrow. Just be ready, chat. Again, big bank earnings tomorrow. And that includes Wells Fargo, BLK, JP Morgan. Some of the biggest banks in the world release their earnings tomorrow morning in pre-market. So if you haven't already, chat, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I appreciate it. Always remember, I'm terrible. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm biased in sponsors' favor and all that good stuff. Y'all be good. Be safe. Trade safe, guys. I'll see you guys later.